listening to the Northern Hunter Podcast, home of all things hunting, fishing, and outdoors in Alaska.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is James Payne. We've got Mo on the controls today.
Hello.
Chris is in the studio with us. And we are all sitting down with Maxwell Stepp. Thank you so much for coming back to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, hang out a little bit this evening. We're going to do a little bit of a different episode for you guys. We've been talking a lot about bear baiting and bear hunting. We'll talk a little bit about that this episode, but there's a lot of other things you can do in the spring here in Alaska, and we are going to touch on several of those, and mostly with you, Maxwell, regarding fishing. What kind of fishing you can get into here in the, anywhere in Alaska, really, but during the springtime. So I'm excited for that one. A announcement that I'm excited for with this episode is that Chris, you're here with us this episode, and it looks like you're going to be here for many episodes going forward because in your good-hearted nature of helping people out and getting people out in the woods, you've agreed to come on and join the show with us. So you're, as full-time as you could get at this point, huh?
It's either join you guys or start paying rent, right?
Right.
Yeah. You got the nice chair today. I should have seen your.
Oh, that's true. He does have the nice chair
from you. No, well, it's your first day as a member. So
yeah. Welcome to the Northern Hunter team. There, we appreciate you coming on board. I'm excited to have you around more often. You've been, golly, I mean, you've probably been on 6-7 episodes already now. So
I don't know.
You've been hanging out with us for a while. So we figured we might as well make it official. I know we like having you on. Everybody else likes when you're on. So,
thank you.
Yeah,
it's fun. I love coming on. So.
Yeah, no, it's always a good conversation when you're around. So you are by far, I just have to say, one of the most, one of the best storytellers I've ever heard. So
on this show, anyway, right?
No, in real life too. I mean, my goodness, you are one of the few people I like. When I go over to your house, I just expect it to be like a 2-hour visit. It's just going to be stories and conversations, and it's like a lot of fun.
It's like a phone call with Chris.
Yeah, right. Calls you at work, and you're like, "Do I have 2 hours?" Sure.
I got to cut you off.
Right. No, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. So, so everybody listening can look forward to that. Obviously, we're all busy. You know, sometimes I'm not here, Dalton's not here. There'll obviously be times you won't be here, but whenever we can all get together in the same room, for sure. So, and then Maxwell, you've also been very open to helping us with some projects that we're working on this summer. So I'm excited for those once those are ready to be released. So appreciate your willingness to help people as well and everything. So, but yeah, man, thaw is official in Alaska for anybody that's not living up here listening. That's probably been enjoying 80-degree weather already. We are finally getting to the point where you can go do stuff out on water, out on, streams, rivers, lakes, all that goodness.
Praise the Lord. I was about to break there.
I know. And this was an early one.
Yeah, I know.
Could you imagine if this was like last year?
I told my wife, I'm like, I'm barely hanging on. She's like, really? I'm like, I'm dying for summer.
Dude, it's, yeah. No, I got caught off guard a little bit, honestly, with everything thawing out as fast as it did. I was the last, 2-3 years? Something like that.
It's been pretty slow. It happened fast this year.
Yeah. I know last year around this time, I was wondering if I could even get my wheeler down trails. And I think I actually got stuck around this week last year, and my buddy had to push my wheeler out with his. He's got one of those, I don't know what the make, or I know what the make is. I don't know what the model is, but it's a Can-Am. It's got the adjustable suspension. So when we got into the deep stuff, he was just able to
Is it one of those Renegades or something? With
it's got the big air thing on the
radiators up on the top.
Yeah,
it has no fenders or racks worth anything. It's all for mud. Yeah.
Yep. And it's an absolute. It's like 1,000 cc's. It's an absolute monster. But
that can be good and bad.
Yeah. Right. At least you can haul the fuel you're gonna need. Right?
Yeah.
That's, yeah. I've got a 500, so mine's way smaller than that. But.
Speaking of wheelers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I teased this a few weeks ago, but I went and picked up a couple weeks now. picked up my new Can-Am.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Renegade, not the XMR 1000, nothing stupid like that. Not that I'm against those wheelers, just for what I'm going to use it for. No good. Sure, it would get me in where I need to go, but if I can't haul, realistically have the room on the racks and everything to have a lot of gear for hunting, whatever. So I got the new Can-Am Outlander Pro. It's been out for like 2.5 years now. I hadn't heard about it till I saw it walking through the outdoor show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sold and went and bought one the next day.
That's all it took.
And they finally got the new tires in at Compo's over there, and great guys over there. Shout out to them. They I mean, they treated me. I've been on some other dealerships around town, and some of them were decent. Some of them not at all. Like treat me like I'm an idiot and don't know what I'm talking about, and walk in there and walk out like I don't want to have to talk to these people again.
I'm not going to bad name anybody in town, but I've walked into some of those dealerships where it was 30 minutes before anybody came up and talked to me.
Yeah, and then you talk to them, and it's like, well, can I talk to one of your mechanics, ask this question? Oh, no, our mechanics are busy. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, can you answer this question? No, use the internet.
Right.
I mean, do you want to help me? No, we don't care about you.
Why did I come here?
Yeah.
Right.
No, I've walked out after like 30, 45 minutes because just nobody's talking to me. And I'm like, okay, I'll take my business elsewhere.
Compos isn't like that. Every question I had about the wheeler after I got it, hey, I mean, can I get an extra key? Like these things look easy to lose because it's the same thing as like on the snow machines with it just pops on.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure what to think of it at first. I don't mind it now that I've used it a little bit, but I mean, they threw that on there. Didn't charge me anything for it. I asked for hand guards. Didn't charge me for that. Like they really, I mean, I guess, you buy a brand new wheeler, like they make some money on that, obviously. So,
and they've been around for a while too.
They
have. I know that family's done a lot around here. So,
right. And, there's another dealership in town that's been owned by a local family for a long time too. And they're, the people I don't like to go see. So,
right. Exactly.
Like those guys are great over there at Compost.
Yeah, they are.
I like those guys. Well, I'm always torn between those guys and Boat Shop.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet.
But those guys are great over there.
Yeah,
we were just over there.
Yeah,
those guys are just always super helpful, and I'd like going there, getting my stuff taken care of. Well, when it comes to boat stuff, if they sold wheelers, I'd probably buy a wheeler from them.
Go see Compost. Go get one of those Outlanders.
The boat and wheeler shop. That's an idea. So you got a chance to ride that thing yet?
Yeah, got 90 miles on it. Got last couple weeks. I mean, bear baiting season, so
there you go.
A couple of spots I've tried to go, and there's still too much snow. But I got the new tires on it now, so that should help. But no, it's sweet. Like I mean, with stock tires from the factory, it's 13 inches of ground clearance.
Nice, and that one doesn't have the adjustable.
No, I mean aside from adjusting preload, which is pretty much standard, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not turned its suspension up and down. You don't need it. It comes with suspension. It's designed as a work machine, right? It's it's got sport mode, normal mode work.
Yep.
One of the coolest things is you can adjust the what's it called? The engine brake. And you see a lot of these guys like that drive the mud machines, they'll I had that brute force, guys will do a engine brake delete. They don't like the engine brake. They want to just control it brakes and all that. For utility, an engine brake's awesome. This one, I can actually turn the engine brake on, off, or set it to like a middle setting. So if I don't want an engine brake, if I just, for whatever reason, I haven't personally had that use all the time, very often, but once in a while, you can just hit a button and boom, it's off.
Why don't you break down what that does, Mo?
Just an engine brake?
Heck of it. Yeah, for people that don't know.
So especially on like an ATV, which is where you see them primarily, is when an engine brake is basically you let off the throttle, it squeezes your primary clutch, and it squeezes your primary clutch, so which causes your belt to squeeze, which squeezes your belt, which slows your wheeler down, slows the engine down, slows your wheeler down. Everything slows down, right? And like on my brute force, which it was the first wheeler I had that had an engine brake, and I loved it, right? But if you let off that throttle too fast, you'd about fall off the front of it. And I think that might be why guys didn't like it. I now, it was great. You could go down hills without having to hold your brakes and all that kind of stuff. And you actually would like use the throttle to go down a hill, right, to control it, right?
In low gear, yeah.
Right.
It's like comparing them to tractor trailers, like your Jake brake, essentially.
Oh,
like an engine.
Like a tranny brake or something.
Same concept.
Or you pop your truck into tow haul mode when you're going down a hill, just so it
that's awesome.
Gears down, right? It's about like that.
I do that in my diesel.
Coming down a hill, like fully loaded.
Right.
On gravel, loose gravel.
Right.
gotten a little squirrely there a couple of times myself.
Yeah, it's
isn't it great when the gravel starts moving and then you're just sliding?
And then you
like,
slide sideways and
right.
Got to get a new pair of shorts out at the bottom of the hill.
Right.
Yeah,
right. But yeah, no, it's sweet. I mean, and on my brute force, and like I think a lot of the machines that have had an engine brake, it's on or it's off, right?
Yeah.
You either delete it or it's there and it kicks in fast. It works good. You just gotta know how to run that throttle. You can't just let go.
I think with my King Quad, you'd have to do a lot to delete it. Like
So
you'd
it's
have
an
to get it
electric.
mechanically
It's an
deleted.
electric delete on a lot of machines.
Yeah.
Because it's an electronic part, so you can just take it out of the computer, basically. But
would I be able to do that as the user, or would I have to take it to the dealership? To do
I'll
that?
have to look up the company that makes one for my brute force and see if they had one. If you wanted to delete it, but
I don't think I'd want to delete it. It is kind of annoying sometimes, especially when you're not trying to slow down all the way and it decides you're going to. But
right.
You know,
with the I know, but with that Can-Am, it's like a smart. Everything on it's computerized.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a cable on the throttle. It's all electric, all just wires, which I wasn't sure how I'd feel about, but the control on it is just as good as my brute force.
Mm-hmm.
And the engine brake, you let off the throttle, even turned up all the way, you let off the throttle, it will slow you down slowly and slow you down faster the more you slow down, if that makes sense. So it doesn't throw you off the machine. It just slows the machine down nicely.
Right. Like it understands the rules of momentum.
Right, and brings it to an eventual stop. Right.
Right, yeah.
And instead of, just letting it off and, here we go, right? But if I'm going down a hill, it still slows it down enough that I can just let it do the job for the most part, pop it into low gear.
Nice.
And it's pretty sweet.
Did you get a 1-up or a 2-up?
A 1-up.
A 1-up? Yeah. Do you know if they make a 2-up?
They make it's not the Outlander Pro specifically, but it is almost everything else on it looks the same. They do make a 2-up version.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if it's called, if it's just an Outlander. I was looking it up. It's like the XTP or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably stands for extra person. I don't know.
But probably.
But it's a 2-up model, and it pretty much looks the same. Same type of new rack system. It's steel racks instead of the plastic racks. It was one reason before wouldn't have bought a Can-Am before.
Yeah,
it was plastic racks. I don't like plastic racks.
No, it's nice that they actually set up something where it's more universal like that.
They're big, right? The front in the front of it, in the middle of the rack, it's plastic, but it's a lid that you put 2 pieces down. You pop it open. It's like 2 foot by 16 inches and 8 inches deep, waterproof storage.
Wow, that's cool.
Like, I mean,
do you know can you use like universal kit stuff now on those things?
What do you mean?
Like for gun boots or
any
kind of add-ons like that?
You can if you want, because it's steel racks, right?
Yeah.
So you can just strap it to it. But, gun boot's a good example, right? Because they had one like I wanted with a gun boot already on it. He goes, do you want the one with a gun boot on it? And I was like, no, that Can-Am gun boot sucks. It's huge. It sticks out. It's in the way. It looks like it's going to break off.
Mm-hmm.
I have a cold pin gun boot that I like that has a steel ring it mounts into. It's light, it's small, it's out of the way. If I want to use a gun boot, I'll put one of those on there. But they do all the Link stuff is pretty cool. I have one of the Link baskets.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It just pop onto the part of the rack, and then it's got 2 locks that snap in. I mean, you can put it on the front or the back, switch it around. It's got slots for around 5-gallon buckets in it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
yeah, buddy.
I went to put my bait out. I had my beaver in one bucket, right? And then another bucket with just all the stink in it. And then I put a square bucket in the middle with grease.
And you know what you do with that?
And a couple of bungees. And it wasn't the whole hassle of trying to strap everything to the top. So it doesn't.
And then it tipping over because it's not all the way
and you
on
know
the
what
rack.
else? I bet you could get a bag of dog food into 3 buckets. Run your dog food like that too, and not run a bag.
Or just throw the bag in the thing with one bungee over it, and you're good. Like, I had 1 bucket on one side one day, and a bag of dog food in the other 2/3 of it, with like 3 bungees total holding everything in place. Like, I run it down the highway like that.
That's awesome.
With it in my truck, with the wheeler in my truck. Like he was like, "Hey, you want that rack that's on there? I'll throw that in with the wheeler when when I bought it." And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll take it." I didn't know if I was going to use it or not, but he was offering, so I haven't taken it off.
Nice.
Like, anyway,
looks like it's staying.
I wonder, is that like a proprietary one for that model?
Yeah, it's the Link. Well, it's not for the model. It fits any other newer machines with the Link. It's the it's the BRP Link system, right? Okay. So any of your old snow machines that or Skidoo stuff that went on the back of the Skidoo machines with the little Link system, lock system, the gas cans and all that. Mm-hmm. The wheelers have 2 sizes. You can actually fit in the small, so you can put the gas can off your snow machine on your wheeler. It locks on. or they have toolboxes that fit that smaller size too. You can actually take the lid off the front and put the gas can down low, so it's kind of flush with the top of the rack if you want. It's
that's nice.
Pretty sweet. It's all expensive, but
well, it's Can-Am, so
Can-Am BRP, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. They have like a whole toolbox that comes with tools and everything you can put in there too. But,
oh, that's sweet. I know that's one thing I've been looking at for mine with my King Quad is trying to find like extra rails or racks or baskets.
I've been thinking about trying to figure out a way I can make a plate that when it locks into the link system that I can put a couple of pack out plates on.
Oh, there you go.
So if I am going to run around with it for tools or something, I can just lock my boxes on and boom.
If you get down that crazy rabbit hole, there's a Facebook group for like all things
Milwaukee pack
addicts
out.
to Milwaukee pack out.
I know
and then there's
some nuts on there, I'll tell you.
Yeah, there is. And if you go on Etsy, there's people that will 3D print you custom things for
if I did that,
stuff.
I'd use like steel plates and I don't know, screw them to a piece of plywood or something. But
right, yeah, redneck style.
If I just need to find something that'll lock into the link system. That was right. I don't know if I'm going to do that. It was an idea.
Yeah,
we'll see.
That's a good one. I'm excited to see it.
But yeah, it's a nice machine. Just got the new tires on it now, so
hopefully no more stories of you jumping your wheeler with drill batteries and stuff like that.
Not with that one anyway. I will say one big thing about it. One big thing they changed. It was very economically priced, which is part of the reason I wasn't so interested in why I bought one. But is they were all like this size of machine were all V twins, right? 650 V twin or bigger, or you could go down to the 450 570s.
Yeah,
which I didn't. Those were never anything that really attracted me. But this is, you can either get it in what they call HD5 or HD7. Both the same block. They're cammed different, tuned to different. One's a 500, one's a 700. Both a 650cc motor.
So they should weigh about the same then.
They weigh similar weights, but one's about 500, one's about 700cc is how they rate it. And that's the one I got up.
Yeah.
Right? But it's a single piston instead of V-twin, which saves a lot of weight. Well, the machine's still dry as like 850 pounds. But that single piston is a lot of low end torque.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that, how the response time on that is.
The low end on that is
insane.
Phenomenal. Even in high gear, like rolling over stuff and needing a little bit of low end, and it's just there.
Good to know.
A lot better than my brute force had.
Yeah.
Now, they probably won't beat the high end on the brute force because it's not a V-twin. But then again, that motor has a lot of miles on it on my brute, so we'll see.
No.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting rid of that machine. I was tired of taking batteries with me to jump machine because I couldn't figure out why the battery after replacing 3 stators.
Well, and now you can tinker on that thing without the stress of not being able to get where you want to go.
Right.
Too,
now I can walk home, jump on another wheeler, and ride it too. So I have to walk back.
That's like back in the day, man, when we would build trucks and stuff like that. You never want to be building your daily driver. That's that stress mode when you tear something apart on the weekend and you're like, I better have this working by Monday.
Yeah, I'm
going to
get to choice.
Work. Yeah, kind of the same thing with a wheeler in that instance.
Yeah, so I think I've got the brute force fixed. I think I need a new battery that's strong, and I think it'll be good. I put a bunch of money into it this spring, and then I went and bought a brand new one because now I got 2.
Yeah. Well, speaking of what we use wheelers for the most, you getting baits out?
Yeah, got one out. Got plans for more.
Nice. But what about you, Chris?
Yeah, we got one out. And I don't know if it's been hit since I went up there.
Yeah,
I hope so. That's one thing that's kind of got me about we've had this long spell of warm weather, and then the bait don't really seem to be picking up.
I haven't seen any grass yet.
My buddy shot a bear 2 nights ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nice bear. So that got me hopeful.
There you go.
I know where one of my baits is. That I haven't seen any grass there. I haven't seen bears. Others have seen bears around it in the area.
Like still snow covered?
No, there's just no green grass.
Gotcha. It's all still dead over.
And so usually when the grass turns green, when you start to see it turn green, I mean, and the shoots hit when you start to see the leaves come out, that's when you got.
That area is like about 3/4 of the way through May. It seems like that it kind of really starts greening up.
Yeah,
it's
just
late.
The way it goes. Yeah,
we're almost there,
and it's
like, weird how like 10 miles apart areas will be so different.
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't got mine out just yet, but by the time this episode drops, it'll be out. So we'll I'm, like I said, a little bit behind the curve. I finally got everything pulled together now, so I've got all my stuff ready to go.
Nice.
And then so
Carlito.
Like I said, I can't lie and say I've got one out yet, but by the time this episode drops, it'll be out.
If everything goes according to plan.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Carlito and I are heading out to one of ours tomorrow for a little bit.
Nice.
To go pull an overnighter and we're looking at throwing another one in that area.
Mm-hmm.
But
that'll be fun.
Yeah, we're all late.
Well, I was talking to my wife about that just yesterday. I was like, I feel like I'm so behind the game right now.
Yeah,
like,
you're not.
But like compared to last year, or even the year before that, I'm like, that's kind of just the thought I was expecting to have, and the fact that it came early, just I couldn't control that. So.
You just waste fuel.
The rest of us are just getting antsy.
Right.
We just want to get out there and do something. I got a new wheeler. I got to go ride it. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's what I've done every year. Like I said, 2 years in a row, I got stuck in the snow trying to set my bait with my wheeler. And so it was like, I think maybe this year, I don't know, I was just done with that or something. But I also was not expecting it to be thawed out by the beginning of May. It's ridiculous.
Well, it got real hot and then it cooled down. So not everything is thawed out and greened up as fast as we thought it would.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of it too.
I think that February warm up really screwed us over, actually, because I think it set a layer of ice that's just been really slow to pull out. So
I mean, I've seen a lot of difference in areas I've been in, like a feet of snow difference in a week. But
yeah,
I went in and checked my cameras the other day, and and it was funny because like, well, it was about a week ago. There was like 8 inches of fresh snow in my bait station, and then you could just see it start to go away in the photos. So
yeah,
touch and go.
Yeah, I was putting a bait in with getting snowed on. That was a different experience for me. Like getting snowed on while putting the bait in. Never had that happen.
We had last year where we were like watching bears and just getting dumped on.
Yeah. Well,
we were really getting snowed on quite a bit. And then running in summer tires and stuff, and like with boat trailers and stuff. It's so sketchy.
Things just getting all squirrely back there.
Oh, we got squirrely a few times. Like,
what about you, Maxwell? Are you baiting this year, or you sticking with your other plan?
Negative.
No.
I'm gonna go down to Whittier, and we're gonna try to spend a week at a public use cabin.
Nice.
And I'm gonna try to go with my bow this year. Never got one with my bow yet. It's gonna be a full-on spot and stock.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm getting it dialed in with those guys over at Screaming Eagle.
Okay,
nice.
Yeah. Those are great guys over there.
Yeah, Chris is the man.
Mm-hmm.
Sold me some new arrows, and like the next day I broke half of them. So I came in and fixed them for free. A great dude over there.
Nice.
And
this is our ignorance class.
Yeah, exactly. 24 hours later, I come back. Yeah, broke a couple, but you know, that's how it goes. And I leave in 2 weeks for that. So
sweet.
Probably by the time this episode drops, I'll either have a bear or not have a bear.
Right. Right.
And if I come back without one, probably gonna go poach one of Chris's bait sites. Shoot one off of his.
While he's at the other one.
While he's at the other one.
I love being that guy. If you don't connect, call me.
But yeah, I'm excited. My first like archery black bear hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not been over a barrel of food.
Yeah.
So.
I'll say, have you killed much stuff with a bow before? Or? No.
I tore up this coyote in Illinois one year deer hunting. I'm talking just spilled its guts one day.
Oh, no.
But yeah, that's about my experience. Killed some arrows, I'll tell you that. Sent them into oblivion. But yeah, it's about what I got.
Yeah, that's been there.
Yeah.
I will say, on the topic of methods of take, in recent news, I got a call from Dalton today. He just put a bullet in the first bear with those hammers on that 375. He said
Nice.
He said they won't work. They make too big of holes.
Really? Too big.
Yeah, he got those the 270 shock hammers, didn't he?
Yeah. I helped him load those up before he left, and we dialed that in. And
nice.
And he called me like, "Hey, I just thought you'd like to know and say thanks." Like, well,
good to hear. On. Good. Glad they're having success down there.
Go get some hammers. Use code The Northern Hunter at checkout.
Right. Exactly. 10% discount. Yeah, we love those hammer bullets. And Yeah, Screaming Eagle. Chris was actually in here doing an episode with us just a couple weeks ago. He's a great guy. That's a great shop over there. So, yeah, if you're shooting bow, go see those guys, and if you're shooting bullets, go see Hammer.
Right.
So, let's take a break.
All right, folks. We all know that one of the most common mishaps in hunting is damage to your rifle scope. Last year, I found the solution to that problem with the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. It wraps around your scope and actions securely to protect it from getting knocked off of zero or even severely damaged. Stealthy Hunter also has a glassing pad and a wide variety of supplements for the outdoorsman, such as protein powder, CBD products, turmeric, and gut health supplements. They also make a lightweight trauma kit weighing in at just 14 ounces that includes everything you need and nothing you don't for all of your backcountry medical emergencies. To shop all of their equipment and supplements, go to stealthyhunter.com and enter the discount code at checkout, The Northern Hunter, to save on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA.
All right, so Maxwell, kind of along the lines of you taking trips. You mentioned your bear hunting trip and everything. You took another trip recently that you actually filmed and put on the YouTubes.
That's right. My first ever YouTubes video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that? It was a ways from Fairbanks, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think about 350 miles as the crow flies.
Yeah.
It was so as many of you guys in here know, I drive school buses. This is like a main job. And kids are out week of spring break. That means I had nothing to do for a week. And I was talking with just another bus driver. And here we are just swapping stories. And he's like, You ever caught a sheefish before? And I said, No, I haven't. And I think within about 35 minutes, we were out on route. Within 35 minutes, I had a plane flight booked. I had called, got a machine rented and a room booked. And I flew to a little village of Kotzebue, out on the western coast of Alaska. It's approximately, I think, like 60 miles south of the even smaller village of Notak. And I had an amazing time fishing for sheefish on the Kotzebue Sound.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I spent 4 days out there. I filmed just about every day. We had absolutely beautiful weather up there. It was more north than Fairbanks, so we're getting more sunlight at that time in the springtime.
Right.
So, like 5 below felt like, 20 above to me. I'm fishing with like no gloves on. There was one day, I just could not keep the batteries alive on the camera to save my life.
Oh, really?
And, I had to set up the little tent and a heater and got some good footage of me inside. And then I got a bunch of really good footage of me outside. But I think in like 4 days, now this is like slow. It was like slow fishing. But I think still in 4 days, probably only about 16 hours of actual fishing. I think I caught close to like 27, 28 sheefish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, but I will say this, like I timed it right. I had no reports. I was just going. If I was going to go, I was going to go on these days.
Yeah.
They were practically less than a mile out of town. Like you could have walked. I didn't. I rented a machine.
Yeah.
And then it was really funny. Like a week or two after that, I had gotten contacted by this pretty well-known YouTuber by the name of Maverick Joes, Joos, Maverick Joes.
Okay.
I had no idea who this guy was, but he's texting me, "Hey, where do I go? What do I use? I got your phone number from some random guy in town." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, whatever." Like, dropped him some pins. He did his own scouting, and he eventually connected. But at this point, like just a week, maybe 2 weeks later, these fish had moved 20 miles north and east inland to the Kobuk Lake.
Okay.
So the Kotzebue Sound, it's all brackish water. It's a combination of salt and fresh water.
Okay.
and that's why it freezes up there. And still, I would think it was like third week of March. Still 4 feet of ice out there on like this brackish salt water.
Wow.
And we went up into, I met an elder by the name of Bob, super cool guy. And that's something I'd like to kind of touch on. If you're nice and you kind of just put on a nice smile and a good attitude, you can go into these villages and just meet people who would take the shirt off their back and give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
My first day out there, I'm fishing, move, fishing, no fish. This elder comes up to me. He's got no auger, no fishing pole, like just a pretty wicked snow machine that he snow checked up there. He snow checked up there.
So he's got no fishing gear.
No fishing gear. But he comes up to me and he's like, am I catching anything? How are you doing? My name's Bob. I'm like, no, I haven't caught anything. I've only been fishing at the spot for like maybe 20 minutes at this point. And he goes like, well, we caught some over there yesterday. It's like, is that your auger? And I'm the only person out here. Like, yes. As a matter of fact, that is. I rented that. He's like, yeah. He's like, come with me. I'll take you. So we like moved 1/4 mile, drilled some holes. And Bob had this insane spoon. It was a Dr. Spoon big game series, like 2 7/16 ounce spoon. This thing had to have been, 6 inches, or 12 in my book, but 6 inches long.
Absolutely.
And this thing was absolutely huge. And I'm thinking, I didn't bring any of that. I brought like 1 ounce, 3-inch long Castmasters, because that's what I heard was getting them. But he whipped this thing out. I was like, yeah, right, dude. And he pulls out a, they don't use poles up there. They're very traditional. They use what's called a jig.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody who doesn't know what a jig is, it's, he made one out of a little 1x1, but they're more commonly made out of willow branches, bended in an L shape, like heat treated, maybe a little gloss or stain on there, whatever, some notches, and about 50, 60 feet of the biggest braid you could buy at the store up there, probably like 60, 70 pound braid these cats were using. Wow. And, they just take out, and we're fishing only like 15 feet of water. So they're taking out 15 feet and tapping the bottom with these things and just ripping them. And once they hit, they hit. Like you're fighting a Volkswagen, like as soon as you hit these things. And I'm using rod and reel. I'm using like a 32-inch medium heavy, like Dave Jens, like a walleye. Like a walleye or like a small pike rig on here. And these things are just absolutely cooking me. I got like 20 pound test, 15 pound leader on it, and these things are just spooling me left, right, and center. And it was such an absolute blast. And I talked to a lot of natives up there, talked to another couple that came out and fished with me for like half the day. I brought a fish back to Bob. Like, you just drive down the main road of the town and you see where everybody lives.
Right.
And I look over, I'm like, dude, that snow machine looks familiar. It's the nicest one on the strip. And go bang on the door, gave him a fish. He like invites me into his home, gives me some caribou jerky, and just kind of blabbed with him for better part of an hour the first day. And then the next day I went out by myself, and then we ended up venturing up to the Notak River, which is, like I said, just north of Kotzebue. Fished up there a little bit. And it's crazy. The closer you get to the fresh water, the more ice there is.
Right.
So where we were on the brackish, like right out front of Kotzebue, it's like 4 feet. You get up to Notak and it's like 5 feet, 5.5 feet of ice.
Oh, wow.
You're dealing with. It was nuts.
That's intense. Most augers probably couldn't even handle that.
No, I think the one I rented had like a 24-inch extension on it, and I was pushing the limits of that thing.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, that's something you guys could do in the springtime. Kids get off school, or you get a slump in work.
Yeah.
And really, and I stayed at a very nice place. I got hooked up with this guy. His name was Lou Pagel, through Arctic Fishing Adventures, and rented me, I think, a machine, auger, tent heater, and a room. And I think for like 4 days, I spent like $900 without the flight. I think the flight included it all cost me like $1,200, $1,300.
Wow, that's not bad at all.
But yeah, you can check out the video on my YouTube channel at Max Stepp, STEPP.
All right. Yeah, and it's a good length video too.
I know.
Yeah.
I made a movie out of thing. I mean, it was like my first, and I didn't put it out there for anybody to see, but like family and friends. And yeah, I look at it and it didn't like blow up by any means, but I got way more views than I thought I was going to get.
Next thing you know, you'll be the YouTuber texting people.
Yeah,
there
right.
you go.
Yeah. But I just saw that dude. He put out a video, and I watched it. Of course, he's up there for 4 days, and he puts out a 30-minute video. Like this guy's got it down. But he put out a video. It was really good. Him catching fish. It was really like 3 days of him not finding fish, and then the one day he's just smoked them.
It's the day after he texted you, I guess.
It was. He had to go travel. He had to go travel like 20 some odd miles.
Oh wow.
So if you're looking at the village of Kotzebue on the map, it's on like a little kind of like a peninsula. I think it's about 100 to 80 miles north of Nome.
Okay, yeah. Sounds about right.
Yep, it's on a little peninsula. Then you have the Kotzebue Sound, and then just straight north of Kotzebue, the Notak River flows in. And if you go up and around the peninsula to the east, you have the Kobuk Lake, and then the Kobuk River then flows into Kobuk Lake, and Kobuk Lake dumps into the Kotzebue Sound.
Yeah, okay.
So those fish were just coming up in there, and they're eating some things I've never seen before, like tom cod. It's like almost like a big sculp herring smelt. Bob showed me this little smelt rig he has for jigging up smelt underneath the ice. It's like a little sabiki rig on a stick. Bob's jig was pretty smart. He had like maybe like a 2-foot piece of like a 1x1, and on the end of it, on like the the horizontal end of it, he had just an eye bolt screwed in there, and then about halfway up his stick, he had 2 screws, and they were both like 6 inches apart from each other. And he measured them. He like drilled it like 6 inches. So he's like 1, 2, 1 foot, 1, 2, 3 foot.
Okay.
So that's how he can gauge his depth.
Gotcha.
And he pulled this thing out the first day and just smoked me. Like we set up, I drilled the holes, we start talking, blabbermouthing, and then like, oh, I got one. Got one right there. Oh, I lost it. I'm like, yeah, you're messing with me, dude. Yeah, right. Oh, I got one. And he pulls this thing out, and I'm like, yo, dude, what is that thing? He pulled out this, 20-pound fish. And he's like, yeah, that's a small one. I'm like, what, dude? Are you kidding me? I'm like, and he shows me this lure. He says, go to the Napa Auto Parts. Go to the Napa Auto Parts. Go get one of these things. And if you watch my video, you see how much it was a fiasco it was to find Napa Auto Parts, because nothing up there is labeled on anything. So like, I ended up stopping and asking the sourdough fuel guy who's running fuel. I'm like, yo, where's the Napa Auto Parts? He couldn't even tell me where the heck Napa Auto Parts was.
And it's this tiny little Napa sign in the window.
Oh, yeah. It's like on the corner. He's like, it's down the main road. I'm like, dude, I'm not from here. Every road here is a main road. I have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah, it was a very, very cool, my first like real village experience, like going alone, like no friend, no boss or whatever to take me and show me around.
Yep.
If you go up there, they got an awesome museum of the North. There it's small, but they got a lot of cool stuff in there. Little phones where you hit the button and you hear guys talking about the olden days. I think some I'm just gonna throw out there. They talking about whaling. It's a whaling village. Used to be a big whaling village. Now the belugas, they harvested belugas. They don't come through there much anymore. And Bob was a huge believer in climate change. And he's seen it like firsthand. Like this dude's probably in his 50s, 60s. This guy was mayor of Kotzebue at 22 years old. Here I am, 26. Wow. I'm scared to get a loan out on a truck. Dude,
it's a lot of responsibility, man.
He told me like when his dad got the first outboard motor, he had the biggest outboard motor in the whole village. You want to know what size that outboard motor was?
3 horse.
It was a 27.5 horse Johnson 2-stroke. That was the biggest outboard motor they had for the ocean at the time. And he said when his dad started taking him whaling, He said, son, you have the most important job on this boat. And what's that, Dad? He's like, take this Folgers coffee cup can.
Yep.
And you are bailing out the boat. You make sure we do not sink. And I just thought that like it's total culture shock.
Yeah.
Going from one place to another and just seeing how they used to live. And he's telling me about, how the herring never came up in there, and how like years ago they always had to go out and around to the Kobuk Lake and fish for the sheefish, and now they're catching them 100 yards off the bank, and when it's good,
right,
when it's really good. And I was just fortunate enough, like I said, I had guys hitting me up asking me, where do I go, what do I use? And I like, dude, I just got lucky, man. They were right there when I was there, but it's not uncommon for them to have to travel 20 miles out and around the mainland to get into the lake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I came back. I think I hauled in fillets, one of those big fish boxes, those wax fish boxes. I put it on the scale at TSA, and it weighed about 78 pounds of sheefish I brought back with me.
My goodness, dude.
Yeah, and I had that thing packed to the brim. I'm like sweating, panicking, trying to tape this thing up, and it's just busting at the seams. I can't get the tape to seal on it. By the time I got back to Fairbanks, the TSA guys had put like those white bands around it, and it saved me. It saved me so much.
Yeah, those guys are pretty good about transporting stuff.
Yeah,
they're real good about it.
But, yeah, they see it all the time.
Yeah,
they better be.
Yeah, exactly. But no, and I can 100% attest for what you're saying with the whole like culture shock of the village life and everything like that. That's
because you fly out to them all the time.
Yeah, I would say that's my daily job is going out and working in these villages, and and it's kind of funny because it really depends on who you talk to, and you can almost tell what kind of a person somebody is based on the experience they have in the village. Mm-hmm. Because if you're like, I've heard a lot of people be like, "Oh man, those villagers, they just don't like outsiders. They don't like people coming in and doing this and doing that."
Depends on how you are.
Well, and that's just
a lot of it depends on your attitude.
And it says more about the person telling the story than it does the villagers, because it's like every single place I've been to in Alaska, every single one has just been so polite. There's always people that show up at the airstrip looking, hey, anybody need a ride? Anybody, need to go anywhere? Willing to, take you where you need to go, make sure you're safe, make sure you're good. Like, oh, you need to stop by the store? Okay, cool. We'll go to the store and, and you just throw them a little bit of cash, whatever you've got for gas money.
You are the guy there fixing their internet, so
hey, you know what? I'm also a really nice guy.
I'm just being. I think a couple of not saying everybody in them, but I think a couple of villages have given all of them a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
There's a couple that are just.
But even like I've heard a lot of people talk bad about Barrow. Oh, that place, blah, blah, blah. Like this, I had such a bad experience. And like, I go to Barrow all the time. Yeah. And like people in Barrow, like they know me, like the taxi drivers.
Well, these days you can go to Barrow without seeing a single native and spend a week there. So.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a lot of Filipinos, honestly.
Yeah. Filipinos, Chinese,
Samoans, a lot of Samoans.
Yeah. We were out, and my brother and I went out to St. Lawrence Island. We worked in Gamble last spring, and I ended up getting super sick out there, and coming home early, but man, it was life altering.
Yeah.
The people were so awesome there. And just being able to, in those coastal villages, definitely have a different vibe than like interior villages.
I talk about this on that video. It's, it's such like a community driven, a village. Like when like a family goes out and harvests a whale and they bring it up on the beach. There's scores of people that come down, cutting that thing up. They make short work out of one of those, 1,500-pound belugas when they get to shore, and everybody gets a little bit. Like if you put a blade in that thing, you get a little bit. And not only that, but the elders who can't get out of their house, like who can barely get around, they get held to the highest of standards. They are definitely getting a piece of that. I mean, I like talking about when I was packing up that box, like I didn't bring all my fish home, dude. Yeah. I had probably 5 Ziploc bags filled of sheefish. And when you see these things, when you catch these things, you can't get a fillet into a Ziploc bag whole. Like I was cutting these things up into thirds and maybe getting 3/4 of a fish into a bag, maybe if I caught a small one. But guy who was driving me to the airport, I'm like, you need to swing by homeboy's place. And I go knock on his door and like give him a hug, say thank you. I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm trying to catch a flight. But I gave him like 5 bags and he's like, these will go to the elders. Yeah. And I was like, sweet, man. Like, great. Like it's good to like be able to help the community. Like, even though, I went in there and bought a little bit of something at the grocery store, but that's not like going to everybody. That's going to the workers or the conglomerate that owns that. If you can go around and, catch a couple fish and, just bring it to an elder who just knows his way around, or somebody who helped you, like Bob.
Right.
Yeah. Just give them away. I mean, I was catching a thing you'll see in the video. This pair of people came up to me and started fishing, or I think one guy, he came up and he's like, how you doing? I'm like, good. I'm like, fish right here, right now. Like, if there's nothing over there, bring your wife over here. Come fish next to me. They come fish next to me. I kind of talked to him a little bit. I asked the dumbest questions, like, you guys lived here all your life? They're like, yes, we have. I'm like, oh, cool. What do you guys like to do? I was like, dude, you're looking at it like fish.
Right.
And so I caught like 4 or 5 like my third day, and I'm like, I'm gonna turn this one loose unless you guys want it. And they're like, yeah. And for those of you who don't know, you can catch 10 of those things a day. And there's no way I was gonna come back with 40 of them. Like, there's no way. But I gave them one, and I was like, you know what? If you guys are gonna keep fishing next to me, and I'm just gonna keep fishing, like. And they say, you don't want any more? You don't want them? I'm like, nah, I've got enough. And he looks at me, he's like, catch as many as you want. Like, we will take them. And that's what happened. I gave him like 3 or 4 more. I gave him like the biggest one I had, because I'm like, there's no way. Yeah. I'm like pushing. I'm pushing it pretty hard there. But the people were super. I guess Bob knew, everybody knows each other in those towns.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Spoke highly of those people. So
they don't know everybody in that town. They know everybody for 5 towns either direction.
Surrounding villages.
Like, it's incredible. That's one of the things I love, is when I'm getting rides from the airstrips and whatnot and talking to them, they're just rattling off names and stories. And there's one time, Joe so-and-so and me went down this way and we did this. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is, but that's a really cool story.
One thing that really confused me when I first spent time in a village was the fact that they referred to the other villages around them not by the name of the village most of the time, but by the postal designation a lot of times. At least villages I've, like, on the North Slope, it's not just, I don't remember what they all are, but it wasn't Wainwright and Point Hope, right, or Point Lay. It was, I spent time in whatever the postal designation, PTE or whatever it was. It was like, I spent time in PTE. And
like,
I was
like the acronym for
it. Yeah,
the
acronym, whatever the postal designated acronym was that you see on your ticket or on your package, right?
Right.
Like, just like Fairbanks, you see FAI, right? Or Anchorage is ANC. They would refer to the villages by that. Because, just like shorthand or whatever, which I still, by the time I was like, which one was what? Because they all sounded the same to me, like.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned like just how neighborly everyone is out in Campbell. I remember that beach gravel so deep, it is so hard to walk in Campbell.
Oh, really?
Right? You
is that the one like it's like up the shelf, like off almost on a cliff face where the village is?
Yeah. So like you can contrary to some of the anyway, there's been some political leaders of ours past that have made references to, I can see Russia. Anyway, you can literally see Russia from the beach of Campbell.
Gotcha.
Like, you look across and I think it's like 50 miles across.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But the beach gravel's so deep that it's really hard to walk. Meaning you're there for a week and you're exhausted, and it's funny when you think about how we are, like, our culture, is like, I don't walk in your yard, you don't walk in my yard. And people are like laughing at me. I went on a walk one day and everybody cuts through everybody's yards.
Yeah.
Because it sucks to walk in that stuff, right? And everyone like, and you're just, you can people can identify how out of place you are because you're being respectful. Like
walking down the road.
Oh yeah, and you're walking so far, and you could just cut through yards. And like I had this guy, he's like, "Cut through here. What are you doing?" Like just, and they're like talking smack, and it was funny though. Like super helpful. And
I had that experience in Venati one time. I was up there. We were spending like a 3-day work trip up there, and we were going from the Earth Station where I'm at and going over to my buddy Gary's house. He's been on the show before too. Probably be on a few more times. But and same thing. We're just cutting through people's yards, and I've spent time in North Pole and Salcha. Like, you know, I know how that goes. And like,
Right.
So like I'm like watching the windows, looking for shotguns. Like, nope.
yeah,
Like walk right past somebody's window. They're watching TV, and they're wave at you. Like they don't even know who I am. Like just hey. You know?
even like we went to when we went to catch. So we flew to Nome to go out to gamble, and one of the guys that worked with us, he was from, oh man, I can't remember. It's a village north of Nome, up the coast there. But he knew everybody in Nome, and he had a truck at the airport just with the key in it, right?
Yeah.
And so it was funny. He was like, everything in Nome too. You're like, you're driving around, and there's like snow machines on the beach. And like nobody steals anything, nobody keys and stuff. And
where are they going to go?
I mean, you know, and I'm just
everybody knows everybody.
Well, and it was funny. One point, he let me borrow one of the guys we were working with. Him and I wanted to go fish, and he's like, "Take my truck," you know. And at one point, we had these people following us to see who we were in his truck. And once they I was like, "Oh yeah, you know, so and so let me borrow this," and he's like, "You working with him?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you going out to gamble?" "Yeah." "Okay," but it was kind of scary there for a minute, you know. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be in this truck.
I swear.
I promise. Yeah.
But it's that same thing, like, you know, just everyone knows everybody, even in surrounding villages. I mean,
yeah, and honestly, it's the same thing with our cousins to the east, the old Canadians. Because same thing, I got told by a lot of people going through there. Oh, just don't expect anything. They don't like Americans. Blah blah blah. Like, I went through there with me and my brother took a trip. And we drove that whole highway and like just camped along the way. And like they were the biggest sweetheart people I've ever met in my life.
In Canada?
Yeah. Every single person was just so nice.
When I moved here, I had California plates. Right? And I got the cold shoulder the whole way out. Oh yeah, it was like spooky, right? And then driving through there with Alaska plates and Alaska ID. Like you go in, my wife and I, we were fishing in down near Whitehorse one time. We used to do that before we had our son. We used to do some fishing and traveling, but everyone would be like, "Oh, our neighbors." They'd see our IDs. I'm like, "Whoa, really?" Like, "Oh, our neighbors." Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
They just they treat you really well.
Yeah, that's like we got broke down. We ended up spending like 4 days in Fort St. John's, like just waiting for the truck to get repaired and whatnot. And like all there through British Columbia and Yukon Territory and everywhere we stopped, they were just so nice to us. Like I just sat there for like 3 hours one day talking to one of the mechanics, and like we had somebody like they were closing their business down. We ended up leaving late due to the repairs and getting to our destination late, and they were closing the campground down, like leaving in their car, gone. And as we're rolling in, they roll their window down, I roll my window down, and he's like, "You guys need a place to stay?" I'm like, yeah, we were hoping to, you know, set camp here. You know, it's not our exact area we wanted to go to, but you know, we're kind of stuck in this city. And he's like, "Oh yeah, let me open the doors. I'll get you a slot. Like, don't worry about it. Like, yeah, come on in." And he reparked his car and went back inside to open the register and everything for us.
Do you guys have Alaska plates?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. That's a game changer.
Not gonna lie, Chris, man, if you were pulled over on the side of the road with California plates, I might flip you the bird too.
I think we're about the same way up here.
Yeah, you would have got the cold shoulder. Yeah.
I remember when my wife moved here, we bought a truck down there, and we were gonna bring it up, and I was like, let's order we'll grab some plates for that when we're up there taking some stuff. And she was like, "Well, we'll just get it registered when we get there." And I was like, "No, trust me. It's like a rite of passage. You're just you're heading north. Okay, they got to go through here. They're going home. You know, you California plates, like you're lost. You
right?
don't belong here.
Wrong turn at Albuquerque. But anyway, all that back to so you had a good trip up there.
Yeah,
and,
fabulous.
Yeah, and everybody can go watch it. You know, one thing I'll say, it was a long video, but I really liked the way that you like showcased the town and like kind of your experience going there. Like you did a lot of like sitting in front of the camera talking, like kind of explaining what was going on, or like walking down the street. That was cool to watch. So
yeah, I enjoyed myself. Cool little town, Kotzebue, and I say this in the video, but I would move there just for the ice fishing in the springtime. It was like otherworldly, and following that like into the spring, you can fly out to those villages and get even better fishing on the soft water.
Yeah,
when the rivers open up. I've heard a lot of great stories about dudes catching sheefish on 9-weight fly rods.
Nice
out there.
I might have to try that. I know I've been there in the summertime. I think I've been to Kotzebue like 3 times now. But it's always been in the summertime when everything's thawed out. And and they do have like a gorgeous like kind of the river walk, or I guess the ocean walk, the boardwalk. Yeah. They got all those like,
it was all wind drifted when I went there, but they had the binoculars so you could look out and see stuff.
Yeah, and the whole Bay Area.
Yeah, it was a mile long. You could walk all the way down there and grab a bite to eat at the Empress. Or
they've got good food there.
They do. They do.
I think a trip's in order here.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not kidding.
You and everybody else that saw that video when I came back, where's my invite? And when are we going? I got 9 guys. Do you think you could find machines for 9 guys to go up there next year? I'm like, no, I'm going back up there by myself again next year.
Right.
And if you were there with me, like, we can fish together.
You're watching the video, you just see Chris and I in the background, like
in the back. Follow me,
100 yards away.
Like, well, I guess that settles that on plan.
Chasing me down.
He shot you down real
quick. I mean, that's just shut down.
You gotta just get in line, Chris. Just get in line.
Just get in line.
I'm used to doing stuff for myself.
So, oh, go ahead.
Honestly, that trip sounds like it'd be a lot of fun to do by yourself. Like just take a week or a few days.
It was. And it's nice when you go, as you guys know, you go on a trip by yourself, you make your own schedule. It's not like, it's not like you're out there, somebody else is either freezing or you're freezing and you feel bad that you want to like go in.
Right.
Or it's all like when you get in any trip, you get 2 different minds out there. And if your chemistry isn't just perfect, sometimes it's like, do we move? Do we go in? Or am I hungry or am I not hungry? Like, am I hungry because I think you're hungry?
Where do we eat? Yeah.
I'm not cold. Am I?
Am I cold? Are you cold?
Yeah. Or you're saying you're not cold.
Are we cold?
I could be cold if you're cold. If you're cold, I'm cold. Yeah, let's go.
Are we okay?
Right.
That's very true.
But yeah, check it out on my YouTube. Max Stepp, STEPP.
Perfect. So once you got back into town, did you soak up any last minute ice fishing? Or
I did. I landed at around midnight in Fairbanks. Had a buddy pick me up. I think I woke up at around like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and I immediately texted my ice fishing buddy, if the guy I like trout fish with, and me and him been going out a lot this year and had some good success. Him more than me. But yeah, that day, I think the day I landed and I went back out on Harding for one last hoorah and pulled out a decent lake trout. And
nice.
So yeah, you couldn't keep me off the ice for that whole week.
Good thing there's no jet lag.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, I would say, and that was probably about the time it went out. I mean, it was not soon into May that ice was just gone.
I was definitely I did go out after that. I did go out, and if I saw a hard structure shelter on the ice, I was ripping the truck out there. And I did. I had some pucker factor on my very last trip. Just the lake we were going to, the one side of the lake was getting had a little thinner ice and a lot more overflow and slush than the other side. The other side was beautiful from all the wind it got, but the other side, the snow was really piling up. And me, just because I've been using the one side where all the snow's been piling up, I've been making it out. I was like, I'm going to go out here. And I pulled up to the launch, didn't even walk out. Rolled the windows down, unbuckled the seat belt, put her in 4 low, traction off, and just gave her.
Oh.
Just pinned her, and I was serious pucker factor past like the first 100, 200 yards, and once I got on the hard stuff, I was like, sweet, I'm gonna go out the other exit because I don't know if I'm getting back on that side. But
oh man,
I did go out. Didn't have any luck. It was just tough, but
yeah,
I did make it out a few more times when I got back from Kotzebue.
Nice. Yeah. How is the fishing typically like late, like as things are thawing out? Like, I mean, is it pretty
in our
common
interior lakes here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we get more sun, the sun beats through the ice better. Hits the plants. Plants get more sunlight, produce more oxygen. And it just kind of wakes up the fish out of this like dormant stage that they're in. And once the shelf ice goes out, once you get because the middle of the lake doesn't thaw first, the edges do.
Right.
Once that kind of shrinks out and you got as much room to cast, it's very good. There might not be like actual flying bugs, but lots of like midges or water bugs will be hatching and coming up to the air, and all fish, grayling, rainbows, char, lake trout, everything will be in the shallows just eating up until it recedes, and then the whole body of water will then warm up, and then with the lake trout especially, they're kind of going back down deep trying to find that colder water.
Yeah, and a lot of the big lake, I mean, this one comes out Monday, I don't know what the date is, but
today's the 14th, so
the
20th.
Yeah, so this one comes out on the 20th, and as of today, I think a lot of those big lakes they still got some ice in the middle of them. At least some little bit.
You could get a kayak, a small boat, or an inflatable, around the edges from what I've heard. And it also does depend on the wind, if we get on these lakes that only have like a south facing launch, when you get that north wind in, it blows everything up into the launch, and then it's inaccessible.
Right.
Unless you're boondocking through somebody's yard or just going through the trees. But if you could get the wind right and it blows all the ice just so you have the launch open, you can get into some place and have some absolutely on fire fishing right now for all sorts of like the stock char, the stocked rainbows, and the lake trout. Even like everywhere around the interior, pike right now. The rivers are filled with grayling. Been doing a lot of grayling fishing as of right now, just on the fly. Right now, I mean, it's so warm. We're getting tons and tons of mosquitoes. And
Chris and I found that out the other night.
Oh yeah, you and me both, dude.
I was happy to get bit.
Yeah,
I was happy.
That's right. That's what you said. You were like, it's better than -40.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting bit, but it's better than -40.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Yeah. No. So, what would you say it with their eating habits right now? Would that change what you would use as far as a lure or certain weights or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on, it's like the transitional period for everybody. People who ice fish start maybe bear baiting, and that'll even happen later once we get fall. People who bear bait and caribou hunt, they'll go to moose hunting or duck hunting, and then or just target a variety of salmon. They'll go south and try to get salmon either on like the Glatina, the Golcana, and stuff like that. But as of right now, like once all the rivers opened up, like I'm pitching the trout off to the side, and I'm really just targeting grayling, burbot. I know you wanted to say something about burbot, but the burbot fishing in the spring's on fire right now. Went out and caught a lot of burbot this year with a friend. But yeah, if I was gonna go out and let's say I was gonna go out and target like lake trout right now, I'd probably maybe bring a fly rod with me. If I was, of course, for totally different style of fishing from soft to hard water, I'd probably be pitching some like sinking Rapala swim baits with, just a big single hook off the back of it, and maybe some like larger swim baits, being able to like cast them like way out there, counting to 10, letting it fall and bringing it back. And then I'd really like to get one on if I'm talking lake trout, like get one on a fly. So, I mean, it's no secret, like lake trout, like white or like chartreuse green, I'd be throwing throwing like one of those two big honking colors out there on probably like some 8 or 9 sinking line, and just trying to get them like mid column, maybe not right off the surface just quite yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to get them mid column up along the banks and I don't know, under 40 feet of water.
Right. Yeah. Kind of mimics what they're eating right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so,
yeah. And they're chasing everywhere from, little, like 4-inch long, like Cisco's, like whitefish to, this is actually the first time I've seen this year. It drilled a hole, came out, just an absolute purge of these little water bugs. I have got pictures of it on my phone. Never seen them before, but they purged out. They're all over the ice and they're all moving and going. Makes your skin crawl, dude. There's so many of them. But I was looking at these. I'm like, wow. Like, I just wonder what these are. And, kind of with all my experience on the water, thinking about all these massive bait balls I've seen down there. Like, you think like maybe it's like a big school of these weird water bugs that I'm picking up, and these fish are just coming charging in and just absolutely hammering them. And I don't kill the fish I don't open up the guts of them to see exactly what they're eating, but I'll tell you what I'd like to. I'll tell you what I'd really like to.
You ever get into blackfish when you pop holes, or you go back to old, like revisit a spot you were fishing the day before and like
see blackfish? No, I've never caught a blackfish, although I've seen pictures of other guides around town that catch blackfish at a variety of our interior lakes. Some people don't know this, but blackfish is kind of one of the only species of fish in Alaska that's, I don't know if it's native to Alaska, but their entire body freeze. Like, they can be in knee-deep water and it can freeze all the way through. Their entire bodies can freeze, and once it thaws, they actually will come back to life, which is actually
really
and even, I mean, I know they're small, but their lifespan is very long for the size of fish. I think like 10-15 years for like a little, and a big one's like 6 inches.
Right.
That's a monster blackfish.
They make good bait.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. Man, isn't there a frog that does that too up here?
Yeah, the wood frog.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Arctic. Yeah. I think it's like the Arctic wood frog. They had some information about those at that Museum of the North. I looked at it. I'm like, no,
they've got them that
I
far
love
north.
that sound.
Yeah, up in Kotzebue.
That's when you could expect bear baits to start getting hit.
They burrow. Yeah, they burrow. They completely freeze solid, and their heartbeat slows down to like a beat every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I remember
something insane.
Seeing one trapping season, like probably February, March. It was a warm day out, right? And snow's starting to melt a little bit, but not a lot. And riding a snow machine, the trap line trail, and like getting off the snow machine for some reason, like walking down the trail and seeing a frog hop out of the snow, across the snow machine trail, and back into the snow.
Yeah,
it blew my mind, right? Like, what in the what did I just see that, right? And I looked it up and found out that they like hibernate.
We got like hundreds of them in our yard.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
I hear them every time I'm over there.
Yeah, and I love that sound. You forget about all the neat little sounds that you miss for a few months there. But and every time those frogs get going, it seems like bait gets cracking.
Yeah, it means things are open, things are alive. And that's you and I were just talking about that the other day. It was like that's the coolest thing about like going out like in the spring, this early time of spring, is when everything's waking up.
Being out at night right now is amazing too.
Oh, yeah.
It's just it's so fun.
It's not quiet. The birds, like the frogs.
Mm-hmm.
When I say birds, like Tweety birds, I mean anywhere from like ducks, geese, cranes. That's like the Alaskan staple of springtime. Watching the birds migrate back north.
I was out on the lake the other day in the back at the house, and it's funny because I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, you think wintertime, you're calling and everything's just dead still and you can't hear anything. Maybe you'll get like a boreal owl here and there late season, but then you get into like right now, it's just seagulls and the cranes are going overhead, and there's all these ducks and frogs, and it's cool. It's a great, it's a good feeling.
Walk out of the house in the morning before work, and just a little. I live just far enough out of town that I don't have, much for
the city noise.
At all, right? Occasional vehicle driving by is it, and maybe a neighbor's dog. But one thing was weird is you go to put a bait out, right? And if you're putting a bait out, usually you've got some birds talking and you can hear the mosquitoes buzzing and whatever. I put that bait out when it was snowing. The one day it decided to snow after 3 weeks of no snow.
Right.
Everything was melted, right? There's an inch of snow on the ground. It's snowing, nice big, beautiful white flakes.
It was a blizzard.
And it was dead quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No sound.
No birds.
No birds.
Yep.
Nothing. No squirrels. It was the weirdest thing. Like putting a bait out in that. And everything's white, right? Because it just snowed and it was weird. The one thing, like, it had knocked all the natural scents down. And it was like every direction I turned, I was smelling a different one of the scents I was putting up. It's like I turned this way and it was like, oh, beaver, oh, nasty boar, huh? You know, sow.
Like everything's
Right,
so
like-
thick.
Yeah. It was just I've never put a bait out and scent out and it been that strong of a smell.
Because
Like, every way I turned, I was getting a different whiff.
because
of
it
a
wasn't
different scent.
dispersing.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't. There was no natural scents
Mm-hmm.
in the air. They'd all been knocked down by the snow. Right.
Mhm.
Similar thing happens with rain, but for whatever reason,
Right.
the snow just.
I don't really get so heavy on the scent that like early
Mhm.
because of that. And you'd think you would want to because that's what
Trying
you're
to get
trying
them
to
in,
do.
right.
But it's so hard to keep scent moving when it's
Yeah.
wet. And,
Right.
You know,
As soon as it rains, it knocks it all back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just went, my wife and I, we hiked into one of the baits last week and I scented the heck out of that place and you couldn't smell anything when we walked in there.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Just knocks it all down.
got to hang that rotten stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's what you and I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. So that's been a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll do a full blown episode on that soon. But yeah. Well, Mo, let's take a break real quick. Hammer Bullets produces what we at the Northern Hunter consider to be the most premium and best working monolithic bullets on the market today. These bullets are easy to load, extremely accurate, and best of all, they're always in stock and ready to ship. The guys at Hammer designed them so that after penetrating the hide of an animal, it sheds its petals, initiating a massive energy dump while retaining the rear shank for maximum penetration. These bullets are built with 100% focus on how they perform on game, and their proprietary designs produce great BCs with specialized pressure grooves for amazing inherent accuracy and speed. They have a minimum expansion velocity of 1,800 feet per second, which allows for long-range shots, but with no maximum velocity, making them perfect for every cartridge from your granddaddy's old 30-30 to the high-velocity round like the Weatherby 3378 without having to worry about your bullet failing. To view their expansive selection and find the perfect match for your hunting needs, go to hammerbullets.com and use discount code TheNorthernHunter to drop the hammer on your next adventure. All right, so I'd say one of the things you touched on, two of the ones I want to really touch on, which are the big ones for springtime. But one that I'm super excited for, I just got done prepping up for last night actually, is Burbot. Burbot lines are, it's time to be setting those. Actually, it's been time to be setting those. And I just got done building 4 new ones. I think I did 4 of them. I'm changing up my style though, because actually from conversations with you, Chris, about, and kind of personal experience with the tanglement and all that.
Yeah.
So, I lightened up my weight a little bit. Went down to 6 ounces, which still might be a little bit heavy, but I think that'll get me to the bottom pretty quick. And then I just did, like you recommended, just a single hook per line.
Yep.
Because I used to do 5 hooks per line. And trying to throw 5 hooks per line is insanely hard. It just got tangled on itself. Hooks got, flipped backwards and hooked on the main part of the line and everything. And I had them set up to where they weren't hooking on each other, right? Which I thought was good enough, but no, it was just a pain in the butt. So for anybody looking to set Burbot lines, pro tip, don't overhook your lines.
When we start bear baiting and beaver hunting and stuff, that's always something that goes kind of hand in hand with that whole set of activities is Burbot, and that's, you usually got long runs in the boat and stuff, so it's nice to scatter that gear out.
Yeah.
To kind of for the excitement, the anticipation, but you pick up on that, like, and not to say you can't get 2 Burbot on one line. Guys do it all the time, but even if I'm in a hole, I think we were talking about this, I'll throw 4 separate lines in a hole,
right,
spread apart,
and
get 4 fish, as opposed to usually you get 1 fish and that other hook's either the bait shakes or
That's exactly it.
And if you're in a hot spot where you're used to getting fish, I mean, you got, what is it, 15 hooks per person?
Mm-hmm.
So run 15 separate lines, and it's easier to manage too.
Yeah.
And you know, like you get fish, and usually those lines are kind of compromised anyway. They twist them up if you're running like 550 cord and stuff, or they gullet the hook or whatever. But it's nice to not have all that much gear committed to one fish.
Well, and last year, the problem I ran into was fish would jump off while fighting them because I was trying to pull my line in, and a different hook that didn't have a fish on it would get caught on a branch or something at the bottom of the river or the bottom of the slough, whatever I was in, and I'm trying to fight that and get past that snag and that hang up. And while I'm doing that, this burbot's flopping around over here just far enough that my little net couldn't reach it. If I'd had my big net, like what we use for beavers and stuff like that, then yeah, sure. But like, I just had my smaller one. And then before you know it, they're flopping around, and boom, gone. And then that's an opportunity lost. And so this year I'm going to try it with single hook and see what happens.
It's a lot better in my opinion. You can explore a lot of water that way too.
Yeah,
because if you have a point and you run a line with 5 hooks on it and you get a nice fish, well, you don't even really know, was it just one fish or
right?
And
and you can only run 3 lines at that point. So you set one here, you set one there.
Well,
you set one right up from that.
Say you get a spot where you just keep getting nice big burbot or whatever, and it's panning out. Well, okay, cool. You got a point. Run 4 different lines around that point. Now you got opportunity for 4 fish.
Yep. And for anybody listening that doesn't know what a burbot is, maybe hasn't heard of it, it's basically
your Alaskan catfish.
Yeah, they
it's a freshwater.
They look like
cod.
catfish. They act like catfish. They skin like catfish, but aren't they actually a cod?
Yep. Yeah, in the lower 48, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, I believe has them. Some of the Dakotas, they're referred to as eel pout. Ling cod, they'll call them ling cod or ling, or lawyer fish. They got a lot of weird names depending on where you go. And
I've heard they have like a dozen plus names.
Yeah,
poor man's lobster,
lobster, and that is spot on. You can cook them up just like a lobster. I like to just a little boiling water and a stick of butter and some Old Bay or like Tony Chachere's, and dip that in a little pan of melted butter, and it's almost the same texture too as lobster and tastes just like it.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff, and they are definitely out and about right now.
You get it like a real crummy lager and whip up like a good beer batter. It's really good too. Fish and chips,
and that's what people like. Keeping on the topic of burbot, they are just a pain to clean. Like, I mean, I've cleaned catfish that were, but if you don't know how to clean burbot, like you can't just like your regular fish, like you're just strict fillet. Fish and Game has a really good video. If you look at like Alaska Department of Fish and Game videos, like how to clean a burbot. It's, if you can imagine, you're holding a fish, you slice all the way around the head, just perforating the skin, and then you take a pair of really heavy duty pliers and you kind of dig up in the skin and you basically pull it off like a sock. And then you go right down the top of the backbone on either side and go around the rib cage, and then you pull off a really decent fillet.
Yeah,
I usually do them like backstrap them.
Oh yeah,
like a big game animal. That's how I do them, and then I cut the bellies out, and you pretty much got everything off of them.
Yeah,
I'll use like a small skinning knife.
Sure.
Yeah, with a good sharp blade, and then just treat them like a backstrap. That's usually how I do it. And then you cut the bellies out, and you get a good piece of belly meat.
Yeah, you get 3 good pieces of meat off of those.
Boneless too when you do it that way. It's completely boneless.
Yeah, as long as you don't cut through the ribs. But yeah, no, that's for sure. They can get pretty sizable too.
Oh yeah,
like there's some decent ones out there.
I've got some toads. Like, I like throwing burbot lines when we're out moose hunting too, because I suck at moose hunting. So better at fishing, but we get some big ones sometimes. And that's nice too when you're out at moose camp,
right?
Fresh
a
burbot,
little fresh camp meat.
Heck
fish.
yeah. So a little change of pace.
Everyone's rocking the mountain house, and you're over here cooking fish.
Yeah.
Like that's what he brought all that.
What's the
butter for.
lemon for?
I was wondering why he had Mountain House, then lemon and butter. It was weird.
Just you wait, but I'm gonna be eating like a king over here, you peasants.
Does that guy always bring a wok?
Just sit it right on top of your
He brought
stove.
a pound of rice and a half a gallon of oil. What the?
Big cast iron Dutch
got a
oven.
big wok on top of a pocket rocket.
Usually got the wind mag and the wok.
Dude,
there you go.
something I wanted to. You were talking about like tackle or the burbot.
Oh
right?
yeah,
And I'm not saying this so you go home and tear apart your burbot lines you've been working hours probably making.
No, it took me like 1 hour. Maybe.
Chris, you mentioned like them like just totally swallowing it, right? Like just burying the hook down their esophagus. Well,
Getting it so you can unclip that leader and throw a new one on.
Yeah, what I've been doing is I'll run like a 3-way swivel, and I all my burbot sets are different. Sometimes I run one hook, sometimes I run upwards of 3. I don't get pretty overzealous. I usually just run 3 at the max, but you get like 3-way swivels and just set them in increments, a couple feet at a time, and you go out and buy yourself a little packet of split rings.
Yep.
And I hate split rings, but they make split ring pliers, and usually like every needle nose pliers is equipped with a little alligator tooth on it, but you run those little split ring on your 3-way swivel. Let's go into your hook, and then I go out and I buy like pike leaders, like 18 or 30 whatever inch pike leaders, and I'll run them off of that. And they got a snap swivel on the end of it. You just put your hook on the snap swivel, so that way, especially when I'm out doing it over the winter, I bring like a bucket, and you see my like burbot bucket. It looks like a commercial fisherman's long lining set up where the entire brim is lined with hooks and leaders and like bait at the bottom with a little knife. And I pull the set. I pull the set. There's a burbot, unhook from your split ring. I put a snap swivel on the split ring, unhook that, and then whole fish with the leader in mouth, like in the bucket, new leader, new bait, snap swivel it on, drop it back down in the water, and then I just retrieve the leader later when I'm filleting the fish out. And that seems to be like one of the most efficient way, because when you're dealing with like one hook, like, all right, I just pulled this whole set out, and if I don't have another set here on standby, I'm doing the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Carl does like a Louisiana trip every year, and he brings back they're like catfish swivels, snap swivels, and they're big enough that they'll accommodate 550 cord. So what you do is we'll run the snap swivel at the bottom, and then up from that you run another snap swivel, but they're big enough eyelets to accommodate the 550. And then what we'll do is use the like those big like ball weights, like a 2-ounce weight with the clip with the eyelet on it, and then we'll have to basically just have like the weights go in the bottom of the bucket. You pull a leader, and we'll have those leaders like wound up around. We'll have pre-tied leaders with like Dacron or like
I
Power
use like
Pro.
an 80-pound Dacron.
That's what I use.
It's cheap.
And I like to use like the Power Pro now too, because you get a lot of it, and it's green, and so it kind of blends in a little bit.
Sure.
For the smarter fish, I don't know if it matters. I mean,
we're catching them in like
black water
in chocolate milk. Yeah. So.
But then, and then I'll wind those leaders up on a piece of styrofoam.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Just to
And
keep
so, and then you just got them all preset, and then what you do is you just you pull your 550 out. You got your swivel in the bottom, and your swivel, a little bit off the bottom. Clip your weight on. Clip your, and then we'll even pre-rig them with the herring already on them.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not doing anything. You're clipping a weight. You're clipping a leader with a herring already on it, and we'll have a cooler, and we'll have them all on that cooler. Like if we're in the boat, or we'll have them in a container, and you just pull that leader ready to go with bait on it.
That's super efficient.
And then when you go, like if you're going to fish that same spot again, you pull a fish up, unclip that deal, pull a preloaded leader out, clip it back on, dump it back in, you're going again.
Yeah, see, like in the winter when I run burbot sets, like the last thing I want to be out there is trying to mess with a snap swivel. No gloves, 20 below out, and like trying to put this thing on there. So like anything to maximize your efficiency. But dude,
those snap swivels are like the big ones.
Yeah.
You guys I don't run burbot sets anymore. You guys are lazy, dude. You guys are lazy. I go out there and catch them like a real man.
Rod and reel.
Rod and
you just
reel,
dive
man.
in there and catch them by hand. Is that?
Yeah, dude. Like
Oxygen tank.
Full on Rambo with the K bar and the
knife
teeth
in
and
your teeth.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
What's it look like fishing for burbot rod and reel? I've never fished for burbot in any shape or form.
You fish for catfish, right? No, of course, because you've lived in Alaska.
I lived here my whole life, yeah.
Man, like rod and reel, using like a medium heavy, rod and reel setup. I run like a 20-pound Power Pro, 30-pound Power Pro, or clear, whatever you want to use. But the place where I go, it's really soft mud. I take just the rod and I stick it down in the mud or the rocks or whatever, attach a little bell to it. But as far as like tackle goes, gosh, there's so many different ways to use it. You could either use a little 3-way swivel and just run like 6 inches a leader to the weight and then a 2-foot leader to your bait, or you run like an inline sinker. Those like Kenai rigs where they got the slider and the little snap swivel on. I've seen dudes do that. All sorts. Some guys just tie a freaking pyramid weight, like, 2 feet above your bait. And you pitch it out there wherever you want it to be. And you stick it in the rock, stick it in the mud. I get these little pack of bells off Amazon for like $5 for like a dozen of them. And they're super easy. They just twist right on the tip of your line. You sit, and it's just like moose hunting. You sit there and watch. And eventually you'll get a little ching, and that's just them like grabbing onto it. Like I've pulled burbot up out of the water that aren't even hooked.
Yeah.
Like they got, like, you guys know, they got such like lockjaw on them that like catfish the same way. Like you stick your finger in a freaking catfish's mouth. You're lucky to get that thing back without losing some hairs. But but you just kind of, you try to let them eat. There's like a big feel to it. Like, and it is a little different because not only are you trying to feel if that fish is really on there, you're pulling your weight out of the mud. And once that weight comes flying out of the mud, that's like when your hook gets set onto them. But I mean, a good evening of like burbot fishing. I think my friends and I went out last week sometime, and I think we caught like 4 or 5 of them in like an hour and a half, which that's pretty fast.
That kind of water where you guys are fishing, another fun way to do it is you get like a tube jig with a little piece of herring and a 1-ounce jig head. And
I thought about that and pitching it out there and bouncing it across.
It works.
I've seen dudes catch them out on like sinking fly rods out there, like, or sinking fly line.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, they're pitching it just upriver a little bit, just enough to where that sinking fly line kind of drags across the bottom, and they're just stripping and working it across the bottom until they feel resistance, because they are predatory. Right. Like they're not only just eating junk off the bottom, like they will hit moving stuff.
Yeah,
they eat whitefish and stuff like that.
Whitefish and lamprey is a huge thing they're eating, and they're actually digging them out of the mud. Lamprey, they spawn in the mud, they dig down, they release their eggs, and the male comes and milks and spawns on them. But you find lamprey bait like in its natural habitat by going up to these like muddy slants or muddy cut banks. And usually on these muddy cut banks, you'll see, and it's really good in the springtime because the water's still really low. Things up top are still falling, so the water's generally low. And you can go on these cut banks, and right at the bottom of the cut bank, there'll be just a little bit of shelf mud exposed. That's where those lamprey are going to be. And you could take a spade shovel and just start shoveling mud. You're going to look like an idiot out there, like looking for gold or something.
It could be productive, though.
But yeah, it could be super productive. I mean, and you're just taking this spade and just digging up mud and throwing it across whatever structure you have, and you'll see them like night crawlers come out, and they're not big. I mean, this time of year they're only what do you think, Chris? Like up to 6 inches?
Yeah, you like 4 generally.
I would say 6 would be a big one.
About the size of a worm, like a big hardy earthworm or night crawler.
Save
worm.
a lot of money on herring
and even lamprey. I mean, you go to the store right now, and I remember like 3 or 4 years ago, you bought a pack of lamprey for like $10, and there was like 2 or 3 even full size adult lamprey in there. Now you go, you spend $11 and it's one.
Yeah.
Really?
One tiny one.
Yeah. One like medium sized one. And you're like, yo, what happened?
Yeah. And you want to throw a whole one on there if you got them.
Yeah.
If you got them.
Yeah.
Smoke them.
Yeah. But with the little ones, you know, you get like, you could fill up the bottom of a 5-gallon pail, like 1 inch, 2 inches tall on a good evening if you're like in them. And then when I run my burbot sets, I'll load that Johnny up, man. Like I'll put 8, 9, 10, as many as I could fit on a hook. So it just looks like a big old ball of tentacles sitting out of the mud. And I've froze them and used them in the winter, and had really good luck with them in the winter like that. It's just their natural, their natural stuff they're eating.
Can you still use whitefish?
I don't see why not. I would use it for lake trout, but
it works great for burbot too.
Yeah,
chunk of whitefish. I don't know I haven't looked at the rigs. I always use herring now. I mean, that's just
that's easy. Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can use. They're predatory though.
Well, that's so when I was first learning how to fish for burbot, we were doing rod and reel, which is basically just a shorter term set line.
Yeah. It's like for anybody in lower 48, you've probably fished for catfish is the exact same way you would fish for catfish.
Yeah. And I mean, we would use like chicken liver and all kinds of stuff. Anything that's kind of stinky, kind of, you know, it's going to, they're going to be able to find it and whatnot. I mean, the problem you run into when you start using stuff like that is it doesn't stay on the hook.
Well, and they're more apt to, if you look at it from like a biological perspective, they're more apt to, they like to hunt. That's very ingrained in their the way they operate. They like to hunt.
Yeah,
so
they're on the bottom looking for
bait
that.
Is like coming from down south, I catfish a lot, and I came up here and I took that same approach to chase burbot, but doing a little research to it, they like that live stuff. For
sure, burbot,
and they like fresh bait too. That's a big thing.
Yeah,
and it's not that they won't hit the other stuff, but your chances are much greater.
Your success rate goes way up
significantly. Yeah.
Seeing them on the camera is, I mean, first of all, like camera, like, well, I use a lot more cameras ice fishing than I do on the soft water, but just like seeing how they move, like they're just a big eel. And when they take off from their shoulder to the tip of their tail, it's all moving, and it just looks like an eel going through the water. And I've caught burbot on the camera and working them off the bottom and just getting them to slowly raise. And you just like, it's one of these times you barely twitch that thing, and they'll just suck it in. They don't necessarily lunge forward for it, but they open their mouth, and the displacement of water sucks it in.
Yeah,
and it's just such a
they
blast.
Aren't even near it.
No, they'll just suck it in, and it goes right in their mouth.
And that's what I was going to say. So, like, you've never fished for catfish, but I'm assuming you've caught a halibut or two in your day?
Never caught halibut. I've caught rockfish. I've caught some cod.
Okay.
You fish the same. It's essentially the same.
Yeah, the way it feels when they take it on a rod and reel, it's the same thing, just smaller scale.
So could you jig it like you would like for rockfish?
100%. 100%. I've fished a lot of burbot. Like, same thing I use for lake trout, like white tube jigs. Green tube jigs off the bottom.
Glow in the dark jigs work really good. A piece of herring.
Whatever, a little piece of herring. I put lamprey on it. I've mainly caught them more on the camera. The camera's just so cool, man. I worked for this guy this past winter who had a 32-inch flat screen with cameras hooked all up to it, and you could see these like burbot just coming in, and we've got clients, and just like, all right, you move like very slowly, move that thing, and you tell them, all right, now twitch it, and then it's when they just suck it in and hammer it. It's when you see one on the screen, you're like, that's a burbot. Like it couldn't be literally anything.
I've seen burbot.
I've
never caught them. Never even tried to fish for them.
Yeah, they're tasty animals.
Growing up,
tasty
it
fish
was
for
funny.
sure.
My dad grew up in Ohio, and he did a lot of fishing, a lot of bow fishing, a lot of rod and reel, and stuff like that. But he was a big bow hunter, and he came up here to hunt, and he never really got into the fishing thing up here. I mean, he did some. He fished the salmon run, and
you guys did some ocean fishing. Didn't you?
Yeah, and we did. I mean, we did set netting growing up.
Yeah,
a decent amount. They didn't do it last year because it got shut down. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or not, but
right.
I haven't been down there for a few years. I'd like to get back and do that. Just do it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun to go do set net out of a Zodiac.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds killer.
But yeah, no. I mean, so I have some of that, like, but like the whole like, I've never fly fished. Never. I mean, I've put a fly on a rod and reel, and just like jigged with that and caught a lot of fish doing that. Yeah. Like,
right.
That's a secret,
so addictive.
That's a secret weapon rig.
I was even tying my own flies as a kid one time. My dad bought me this fly tie-in set, and I tried to copy some of the flies in the books and stuff, and then I gave up on that and just like I just started wrapping black I don't know what it's called, but just making like flat black flies around a hook, whatever hooks I could get. Just go buy a bunch of hooks, and I could I just drop it down in front of a grayling and they just gobble it right up.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's I'm just I get it now, like the whole idea of fly fishing and like trying to coax the fish in and everything, but I was like, why do you do that when I can just go like this and like bite it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, when
right.
My top lure like blows every single fly in the box out of the water is like a 2-inch like white Mr. Twister tail on like a 16th or 32nd ounce jig. And my favorite thing when I get clients out here is, I try to pitch them the fly fishing thing because it's fun. You can see the bite. It's a lot more rewarding. It's a little hard if you've never done it before. But the biggest question I get, and I love how stupid this answer is I give them, they say, you're fly fishing. Like, yes. Like, so you're fly fishing, you're matching the hatch. Like, well, yeah, you're trying to. Like, you're trying to get something that they think is a bug that is hatching right now. So what do these little white grubs match? I tell them, well, every year I buy about 500,000 of these things. I bulk order them from Mr. Twister. And I go upriver and I drop about 10,000 of these microplastics into the river every year. And I span it out, I don't drop them all at once, but I just drop all like about at the end of the year, I'll have some left over, But yeah, around 500,000 of these microplastics I just dump into the river, and that's what gets them going. And they look at me with the most sideways face. I'm like, no, like I don't know why. I wish I could tell you.
You litter.
It's like that same. It's like
dumping microplastics.
It's like with the lake trout, right? What they go for the same thing, like the chartreuse and the. I've tried fishing like orange lures for lake trout. Like they're biting on like you say on those bright colors, but then they doesn't seem to touch orange.
And dude,
it's weird, and it obviously that changes.
It changes, and sometimes you just get lucky. But the most, prevalent and most. Oh, what am I trying to say? The most common thing to use is just a white jig. Yeah, like a white 4 to 6-inch jig.
It's crazy.
Emulates a whitefish or a Cisco.
And even like I've seen those things get burped out of lake trout, and. You're looking at this thing and it's like, dude, my white jig doesn't have an eye. It doesn't have a little gray back on it. And then I actually was down in Anchorage not too long ago, and I would go to like B&J's Sporting Goods or something, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the holy grail of lake trout stuff. So I'm like loading up a bag and I'm bringing it back up here, and then I go put it to the test, like head to head with the dude I ice fish with, and the dude, he's just blowing out. He's just stroking me out there. He's just blowing me out of the water. Like, I'm like, dude, come on. This looks exactly like what they're eating. And he's like, man, 4-inch white jig. Like, that's what you need. I'm like, man.
It might be that difference too, that doesn't look like everything else swimming out there.
Yeah.
True.
But then
it's like like predator hunting, right?
Yeah.
Then you put this orange,
something a little different.
Then you put this big honking orange thing down there. And then it's like, all right, come on, these lake trout, like we talked about it last time I was on here, they get up to, in some cases, like 25 years old. You're telling me that not every single lake trout in this lake I'm talking about has seen a 4-inch freaking white tube jig jigging up and down like 4 months out of the year, like in the same spots, freaking weeks after weeks after weeks. Like, come on, bro. Like, stop playing, dude.
So on lake trout, we've covered them quite a bit, but what about midsummer mountain lakes? You're go to for fishing them then?
Gosh, trolling, man. If trolling's cheating, then lock me up, dude. Like,
downriggers,
yeah, planer buddy. Boards. I'm from Illinois, like Chicago area, Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was like born and raised to do, was troll. And on Lake Michigan, we were allowed 3 lines a person. So when I was working on charter boats, we'd have 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
And me, the first mate, and the captain. So I'm not good at math, but that's a lot of lines.
Yeah.
And we would honestly run, I think at most I've ever ran on the back of a charter boat trolling for salmon and trout, like steelhead and brown and lake trout. We would have, 15 plus lines. I think the most I've ever ran off the back of a boat was like 18. I think we'd have 5 planer boards. And if you don't know what a planer board is, it's basically a little board you hook onto your line and it tracks in the water and it gets it out and away from the boat. And you could stack those on top of each other. Your farthest board out there is going to be your shallowest line. So that way, if you hook up a fish on that, it should stay. Let's say I'm running that outside board like 20 feet below the surface of the water. And then the next ones will be in increments of like 5, 10, 20, whatever, down farther. So that way, if I hook up on some on the outside board, I could bring that all the way across the top of all those other lines. They won't get hooked up. And then I'm fighting the fish heavily in the back of the boat. So we'll run 5 planer boards per each side. That's 10 right there. Then we'll have dipsy divers. Dipsy divers, it's a little disc with a weight on the bottom of it. Now the weight you can spin and make that dipsy kind of cant off to the side. So kind of ride a different way. So that helps it track in the water out and away from the boat. And you run those relatively close to the boat. So we'll run a steel dipsy diver. It'll be our deep one. Steel, we use it's like 120 pound steel cable. And that just cuts the water a lot better and therefore it lets you get a little deeper. And then we run a braid dipsy, and those braid dipsies, they just don't cut the water as good, but we run those a little more shallower. We'll put one of each of those on either side. So that's 12. 12. 14. That's 14. Oh, I'm way off on my math. Hold on. So that's 14 right there. And then we got 4 downriggers. So downrigger balls, downrigger, machine that lowers a big weight in the water. You attach a line to it and it runs down. You set at a depth. So that's 4. So wow, I'm already at 18? I was way off. So that's 18 lines. And then if we're really getting froggy, we'll set either just a solid like slack line down the middle, like 300, 400 yards out, right down the middle of the chute. And that'll consist of either like a lead core line. That's a cloth line with a little strand of lead in the middle to help it sink. And usually that's color coded. So every 10 feet will be a color. So we'll run, like 10 colors or 15 colors down the middle, or a copper line. It's a stranded, thin copper line, just a little heavier than lead core. It drags. Oh gosh, it drags so bad, but it's really good to help get that stuff down. But so that's all my experience on Lake Michigan fishing for majority of the same species we have here in Alaska, either on the ocean or in our interior lakes. Lake trout, rainbow trout, which could be classified as steelhead and Lake Michigan. Salmon, your kings, your cohos on the ocean. But on our interior lakes, I've been going with some guys who have a lot nicer boats than me. And I'll just bring a box of Lake Michigan, either like flies, planer boards, dipsies. I like to run a lot of spoons in Lake Michigan, and it's kind of can't beat that out of me is running spoons out here, but run a lot of spoons out here. I would say downriggers, and I run the dipsies, but I feel like I've had more luck on the planer boards.
Okay.
It gets them way away from the boat, And if you know what you're doing, you can run a planer board and you can fish a planer board down 80 feet.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. If you know, and you have the right equipment, I think like at about 2 miles an hour over water with like 300 feet of copper line. That's like the heaviest stuff that we can manage. 300 feet of copper line, I think it puts you down 100 feet till you're dragging the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And we would run that stuff like extremely low pro for lake trout. We'd catch them on big, gnarly, green, white, orange spoons. On downriggers, we would have a line like just for lake trout. We'd run like, I think it was like a 16 or 18 inch big white paddle or dodger, as most people call them. And then we'll run maybe like 18 to 4-inch leader off the back of that and attach it with, our jam was, like those yellow and orange polka dot spinning glows with a white mylar fly or like a white kind of fly off the back of that with a couple beads, maybe like one bead in between them. And we'd run that on the bottom and we would see like that's a fish on the bottom on the sonar. The captain would like take it out of gear. So that way we're just kind of coasting now and we'd get down to like less than a mile an hour over the top of the water. And you could see like all of the lines, like especially the dipsies because they're right there. You see all the lines start sinking because we're going so slow and nothing's dragging. And everything would get deeper and those lake trout would just come up and smack it. And we would bounce the downrigger ball off of the bottom. We'd drop it down, smack the bottom, raise it up feet, and they would come by and just absolutely smack them. And we've hauled out, 20, 25 pound lake trout out of Lake Michigan, like consistently doing that, fishing the downriggers for it. Nice. And that is like directly correlates to up here. Now, granted, like a lot of these interior lakes, the structure changes drastically. You've got to have a mate who knows what he's doing on the boat, or if you're by yourself, you better not be running. Well, of course, you can only run 2 lines by yourself, but yeah, I go out with a guy and he drives and I run the back of the boat and he's constantly giving me depth updates, like 60 feet. Oh, it's 60 and coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up. And I'll just be back there.
Gotcha.
Moving downrigger balls, moving dipsies, moving anything I can just to get off of the bottom. Because once you grab that bottom.
Yeah, I've tried to form deep like that out of canoe. No trolling motor. That's a good option though. That's a good idea. I might have to. Same guy I borrowed a canoe from's got one of those sitting in a shed, so I might have to.
And I know plenty of guys in Chicago. You can look up like it's like Shy City Yacker or something. They fish them. They go out to like 120, 200 feet in kayaks.
Wow.
And fish, and they got $5,000 freaking kayaks. You might as well buy a John boat at that point.
Right.
But they got the crazy sonars. They got grenade launcher freaking rod holders on the sides of their kayaks.
Yeah.
They're just paddling around out there and just slamming fish. It's impressive. It's impressive to say the least. But I would love to do more out there. See, like once the summer rolls around, I'm fly fishing, man. Like, yeah, I save the lake trout for the ice. It's fun.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Yeah, I've got I think it's like a 18-foot maybe, but it's one of those old Coleman Skanoos with the transom on the back.
Basically what I've been running. It's not the same brand, but yeah. It might be even older than what you've got. Things.
I was thinking about getting a troller for it.
No, you can find like a little, not even it's like a 2-horse motor on the back of it, and they'll scoot you. You put that thing on idle.
I think it's rated for up to a 5.
Yeah, honestly, sure. But and at that point you don't
can buy
need
the little
much.
super light little thing that run off a battery.
Yeah. It's actually funny. So my one experience with those the fishing boats down in Lake Michigan was from the Michigan side of things, where my wife's from. And my father-in-law, well, now father-in-law, at the time prospective father-in-law, took me out there. Actually, for my bachelor party, we went on a fishing trip. So got out there like, I don't know, 7-10 miles out into the lake, and same thing. I mean, it was just crazy to watch these guys setting these lines and going back and forth, and everything you just talked about. It blew my mind. I'd never, I mean, I've seen operations here in Alaska on the ocean, but like, I'm like, man, this is still considered a lake.
Those dudes are absolutely hardcore fishermen. Like a little bit off topic. We'll just touch base on this. So me and my father went down to Homer, and we took a halibut salmon charter out of Homer. And we go out, we catch our halibut. Awesome. All right, now we're gonna move in for some salmon. it was me, my father, my stepmother, and then 2 other people on this boat. They just weren't a part of our party, but we go out there and the dude puts up 2 dipsy divers for 5 people on this boat. And me and my dad are looking at each other like, yo, what's this guy's deal? And I was like, hey man, do you have any downriggers? He's like, I do, but they're up in the front of the boat. Like, well, why can't you hook them up? Like, oh, we've tried to run more than 3 lines out here, but they just get tangled up. And me and my dad looked at each other. Like, okay, bro. Like, you don't know who we are. And not to like boast about my dad, but my dad's now he's actually a Salmon Unlimited president, but he's won just about every single tournament there is to win on the Illinois, Wisconsin side. And I'm super proud of him for that. I've been with him on a lot of those wins, but he's just taken the ball and ran for it, and it feels like every year he's getting a different boat because he just doesn't like how this one runs. And every year he's winning tournaments, and I'm just super proud of him for that. And he's taught me that way of fishing that I could use up here on our interior lakes. Yeah, just a very smaller scale.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the lakes I'm thinking of is stuff like, I don't take the time to go. I don't go on a trip to go fishing unless it's set netting for fish down off the coast, and that's you take a weekend or whatever you have out of and that's for meat, right? That's for food. Yeah. I've never gone on a trip to go fishing any more than like, hey, let's go fishing tonight because I got nothing else to do. That's the longest trip I've ever gone on for fishing.
That's your sport. That's your sport fishing,
right? Because I'm a hunter. That's what I grew up doing. But when I'm out hunting or when I 4th of July weekend go out camping for 3-4 days. There's nothing to hunt 4th of July weekend. That's why we go camping. But because of that, it's like, all right, well, let's do some fishing. I got to do something while I'm out here, right? And so that's where that's like, okay, I've always caught the small lake trout around the edges, right? Mm-hmm. But trying to catch the ones down deep, I haven't had any success with yet. That's what I was.
Yeah. Well, and that's where with me, like I've always been kind of the split where I like fishing and hunting. But I got so out of love with fishing around Fairbanks because I got, I don't know, just burnt out on all the little ponds and lakes around here. And I didn't have the, I guess, fishing knowledge at the time or even the curiosity really to push it further than that. And recently I can feel that kind of reawakening where it's like, oh, there's other things I can do. There's other methods I can use. There's other places.
That's how I feel lately. It's like that's all I did when I got here. I fished. Yeah. Because I didn't hunt. And I grew up fishing a bunch. Same thing, that's what we grew up doing. And then I come here and the other thing too is this fishing is a little less climactic here, in my opinion, than back home. It probably for you too.
Oh yeah, I mean so I've worked on charter boats on Lake Michigan. I've worked on charter boats down in the Keys of Florida. And you want to talk about dudes at work, man? Those guys down in Florida. I mean, I won't get into it, but I've watched my brother, who's a charter boat captain, just run himself bare knuckle bones, man, just on the back of a charter boat. And I look at that like that's crazy. And what I did on Lake Michigan was a little crazy, but what he does is just no comparison to the work you have to put in as far as like Lake Michigan. And like you said, up here, like so anticlimactic. Like halibut, like, you take a 50-mile boat ride and you sit there and you bounce on the bottom and then you feel a little and you like a slow reel. But then you get to haul in a barn door. Like we're not catching stuff like that on Lake Michigan or like when we're on Lake Michigan, like it's going to be one of 5 things, it's going to be king, coho, salmon, a steelhead, a lake trout, or a brown trout. I've seen guys catch catfish out there on trolling, but that's just a whole nother realm. But down on the ocean out here, you don't know what it's going to be. Could be a halibut, could be a skate, could be a lingcod, could be a variety of our pelagic and non-pelagic rockfish, could be a freaking wolf eel, could be a salmon shark, could be Jimmy Hoffa. Who knows? Like you don't know what's You don't know
What's
what
he
you're
doing
gonna pull
down
up
there?
Found him.
Found him.
Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah, I hadn't fished off the coast, at least of Alaska, till last winter.
Oh, really? That was your
absolute
first time?
blast. I mean,
Nice.
I fished in Florida off the coast one time
Yep.
years ago when I was a kid, and I caught bluegill in Ohio.
Yeah.
You know, that was a lot of fun.
That's so
did that as a
fun.
kid
Oh,
with
yeah.
my dad.
Mhm.
And I've got a little bit of fishing experience, but
Yeah. I kind of feel like that's the case with a lot of things here in Alaska. Like, in Michigan, there's a gentleman down there I know, and he can get 10 deer per season.
Yeah.
Because he's
nuts.
got, his normal like 6 tags, and he's got like these veteran tags, and he gets
Yeah.
these like
It's
additional
like a landowner tags.
Yeah,
nuisance
like all this
tags.
different stuff. And he's just from, November all the way through like February, however long the season is, because
Yeah.
he crossbow hunts down there.
Oh yeah.
And like, so their archery season's like 4 months long or something. And it's crazy. He's
It's
always going out there.
Close to that in Illinois too.
Yeah. And it's just like, but they're hauling out whitetail deer, which are nice. They have nice whitetail deer there,
Yeah.
but
Good meat.
compared to a moose, right?
Right.
It's like we don't get 10 tags of moose,
Mm-mm.
but
Mhm.
we haul out one massive creature. Like, and
right.
it's kind of the same thing with like halibut. It's like we're not there just reeling these things in left and right, unless, but you're going to pull up, like you called it, barn door. I mean, those things
Yeah.
can be
Right,
massive,
right. I think-
and
I feel like the variety up here is always. It's so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Mhm.
moose hunting is compared to deer hunting is very what was the word you used? Anticlimactic. Yeah, moose hunting is pretty anticlimactic.
I don't agree. I think I think it's a great
when
time.
you connect with a good one. Yeah, but
Compared to whitetail hunting, bow hunting for whitetail, there's a lot more. There's usually a lot more that happens bow hunting for whitetail than moose hunting. Just not always. It's a completely different kind of hunt.
right,
But-
yeah.
And there's still dudes that spot and stalk for whitetail.
There are, right.
And then
Yeah.
there's still dudes that tree stand hunt for moose.
Yeah.
And they're
up
both
here.
successful, right?
And it both has their their ups and downs.
I
And
feel like there's a lot going on when you're moose hunting.
There is,
Depending
yeah.
on how you do it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
because that's like even when we go moose hunt in the fall, it's like if we go out on the boat or something, we're setting burbot lines,
Mhm.
we're bird hunting,
Yeah.
or moose hunting,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
if we're in the right spot,
I
we're
guess it
beaver
just
hunting.
depends on
There's a
your-
lot going on. Like,
Yeah, because I was
Yeah.
saying, if there's
On your type of
if
moose
there's
hunting too.
cranes nearby,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, you
You're
could turn
going after-
a moose hunt into a crane hunt real quick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that and with like unlike deer, like it's not like you go and blazing away at these cranes out in this field isn't going to affect the moose that's 2 miles, a mile
Mhm.
upriver from you. But when you're like deer hunting, like I'm not going to be shooting ducks as they fly over
Right.
geese as they
Right.
fly or land in like the field in front of me. I mean, I've had, I don't know how many deer hunts I've had ruined because the farmer just so happened to lease the fields next door to the deer woods to duck and goose hunters. Like,
Yep.
and it's just like, I might as well pick up my shotgun and go join them,
Yeah.
just go start goose hunting. And I have, I mean, I've walked out of the deer stand. I've walked out of the deer stand back to the barn,
Mhm.
grabbed my shotgun and went duck hunting instead because that's
Right,
best
right.
I'm going to
I
get.
guess that's what we're doing today.
Yep.
Can't beat them, join them.
Yep,
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
But kind of, so back to the fishing stuff before we get too carried away on the hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had brought up fly fishing several times in this.
Yeah. Love it.
What's like a good fly fishing kit for Alaska? Like what, like a good setup to kind of do all, like if
That's-
somebody's looking for something.
You know,
and
they-
I'm asking for myself as much as anybody else, because kind of like bow hunting is something I'm looking at getting into more. Like fly fishing is also something I'm looking at getting into more because it's like a new avenue for me, a new thing. And one of my buddies was explaining it to me. He's like, fly fishing is the hunting of fishing because you're basically
It's like the bow hunting of fishing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you're able, in a lot of cases with like clear water, you're able to like see fish and then
Mhm.
you can like play with them and like
Mhm.
change your flies out and
Mhm.
try different things and like see how they react.
And then when you go down like the Kenai, you're on that glacial blue water, you can't really see the fish. If you're with a good guide or you just know the area, the geography of the water beneath you, and then you know that there should be a fish hanging out right there.
Mhm.
And then that's a totally different. You're not dry fly. You're using like big egg sucking leeches or flesh patterns on an indicator, a bobber. Let's be real, but on a bobber, and you just run and stuff like that. But you cannot beat like dry fly fishing on like crystal clear water. Like for grayling. I mean, and grayling are so easy. It's great to get like kids and even like seasoned adults on fish where you can see a fish, cast in front of it, and get it to hit. Talking about your kind of do all fly fishing setup. You know they fly fish for halibut, right?
What? No way.
There is people out there that fly fish for halibut.
How?
On it's either incoming or outgoing tides. They'll set up on inlets with where the salmon are coming up in, and they'll throw a big old honking mess of a fly with like
no kidding.
Some custom, like I think it's like 18 weight fly line and like a custom, like 14-foot freaking spay rod that's just custom for a halibut. And granted, they're not like catching monsters, but they're a chicken.
Yeah.
What's an undersized
28 under
28? Yeah. I mean, even like a 28-inch halibut. That ain't nothing to shake a finger at.
No, yeah.
If I'm talking like getting real, like getting back to real and like cost effective. If I was going to be going out and outfitting somebody like just with like an interior fly fishing setup, I would get something on the long lines of like a 4 to a 6 weight fly rod. A 6, there's fish that can really make a 6 feel good, but I just love like 4 weights. They're like a pool noodle, like fighting something with like one of those big pool noodles. And you get like a lot of flex, a lot of load. I call it load.
Yeah,
a lot of load on those. But yeah, 4 weight fly rod, 4 weight, 5 weight reel, and then some. There's a lot of different types of fly line out there, as with like opposed like regular fishing line. I talked about copper, lead core, braid, mono, fluoro, all that jazz. But as far as like fly line goes, they make a floating weight forward. So you imagine your fly line. It's floating. They make a floating and a sinking and like a mid-weight fly line. But that weight forward, there's actually like a little bit of a taper on like the front. I think it's like 3 feet on your line. It's hardly noticeable, but that's your weight forward. That's where you're getting a lot of your load, a lot of your power from, is all that line out in front of you. But yeah, anywhere from like your 4 weight to 6 weight fly line. I know some guys who will get like a 4 weight rod and they'll get 5 or 6 weight line just because with the whippiness of the rod, they tend to be able to cast a little farther with the heavier line, even though the rod's not meant to support that kind of line. It just gets a nice little bend, a little more snappier to get it out there.
And it does it okay. I mean, it's not going to like damage your rod or anything like that.
No. Granted, if the fish on the end of your line are walking through the willows and stuff, snapping, God forbid the tip of your pole meets a tailgate. That's the biggest killer.
Right.
It's the biggest killer of rods these days is doors and tailgates.
Yeah, I've lost a couple to
that. And then just like a 6X tippet. I'm not a huge fan of using tippets, but I guess a lot of people use tippets. I like to just use like about the length of my rod. For grayling, I'll use like a 4-pound fluorocarbon.
That's what I always use.
Yeah. I mean,
it's cheap, and you buy a
it's
spool
cheap,
of it.
Easy. Yeah, you string that thing out there, you cut it, you tie it on. You're in like Flint. I mean, tippet. The whole point of using tippet is tippet attaches to your fly line,
right?
And then you have your tippet's generally like 9 feet long, and then your tippet it tapers down into something really thin, and then from your tippet you tie your leader, and from there. Now you're just cutting, whenever you cut off your leader, you're going back to and just refreshing your leader. Instead of cutting off your tippet, eventually you're going to get to the top of your tippet's going to be like 8 or 10-pound test when the bottom of it's really like 4.
Right. Yeah.
Because like I said, it tapers. But I just like running like a straight fluoro leader off the end of it. Now that might be taboo to a lot of these fly. I'm probably having a lot of people have strokes. Like avid fly fishermen. Just
that's what we do around here.
This
so
guy
you're just
doesn't
gonna
know.
fit in.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But no, I've caught plenty of grayling, trout, even some char. Heck, when I pike fish, I'll go grab like a 9 weight and I'll throw like a 15-pound leader on the back. Now, that being said, they make what's called a toothy critter leader line, where it's just a tapered leader down to like 6 inches of steel at the end of it. Now that could be good if you're not trying to lose flies, but I like to just run low profile much as I can.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and somebody explained it to me at one point. It was actually for rod and reel fishing for grayling, but it was I went out there with my pike setup, and so I had the 18-inch steel leader and the clip-on swivels and everything, and I was using one of those little white twisty tail jigs like you were talking about
on your pike rig.
Yeah, on my pike rig, and I still wasn't catching anything. And somebody was telling me like it's because grayling
you need to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like, oh, you need a clear leader, like you need or no leader at all, just right up to your bait.
Yeah.
And it was like because the grayling are finicky about it and they won't bite at it like a pike will.
They can be, and it's not. I mean, these are wild animals. Who's going to say they're not going to bite that?
Yeah. This is lower success rate.
Yeah. Especially. Yeah, but I mean, I worked for this guy this ice fishing season who we were catching stock trout, stock salmon, stock char, and and he's a little older. I'll give him this. He's a great guy, but he was using and we're catching all these small fish. He's using these steel leaders for these fish just because they have a snap swivel on the end of it. He can change out lures a little easier. And he can grab the leader and hoist the fish up and not be worried about breaking line. And to me, I was like, man, what are you doing? And I'd get like I got like this really, really nice ice fishing reel, 4-pound fluoro on it and little micro barrel swivel. Then I'd just be out there and we put it head to head. And I was doing better than him, but I was just still watching him catch fish, and all the clients are catching fish and having a good time. But there is sometimes you need to bust out something a little low profile and just to up your chances.
Right.
Just go a little. I
mean, the whole goal is to trick them into eating something that they think is food.
Yeah.
So the more you can do to trick them.
Nothing's got this big freaking 18-inch steel leader hanging off the end of it, man. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. Yeah, my experience with pike is they just don't care. If it's moving through the water, they're going to try to eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know biologists have done studies on pike where they go capture a bunch, they cut them open, see what's in their stomachs, and then
everything.
Use whatever they can to figure it out. But yeah, leaves, sticks,
baby ducks,
a lot of other pike.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot of other pike. Yeah. Find a lot of other pike in pike's bellies.
That's one of the best things I've used is actually little baby pike swimmers.
Yeah, a little pike. Yeah, a little pike lure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those things get them like crazy. Throw those right along the edge.
Topwater frog or mouse into the weeds.
Oh
yeah, topwater frogs.
That's what I fished for pike like a ton growing up. Like that's what.
Yeah, I love fishing for pike, man.
Yeah, honestly, those topwater I like just they're just fun to fish with.
Oh
I mean, you just go out there and you just try to annoy these fish into biting it, basically.
And that's what fly fishing is on just a much smaller scale.
Right.
You know, they either, especially with grayling, they either sip it off the top of the water or they're like a bat out of hell.
Yeah.
They'll clear, a foot, 2 feet out of the water with that thing. It's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say all in all, 4 to 6 weight fly rod. That's anybody out there is going to tell you.
Yeah.
Get that with some weight forward line and do your research on tippet if you want to use tippet. If you don't want to use tippet,
yeah,
it's all the same to me.
What would you say the difference would be? So, I mean, obviously, one big thing here in Alaska is salmon. And you can go down there and snag salmon.
Yeah, floss.
Floss.
Floss
salmon.
You floss them.
You floss. Yeah. Would your recommendation be a different fly rod for each purpose, basically?
Yeah. If I'm going down on the Kenai, the Russian, the Casile off. I'm probably grabbing my 9. Now that's a little big.
Mm-hmm.
I know plenty of guides out there that love to use like 7/8 just to like really feel them. And that's great. I was with a friend of mine, Travis Price, with Fishin LLC down on the Kenai, and he handed me this brand new TFO, I think like 7 or 8 weight out there, and I hooked onto this fish, and I think I caught him in the back, but it's here nor there. And I go set the hook on this thing. It's probably my second or third one of the day. Set the hook on this thing. That thing takes 2 shakes, and I snapped his rod right in half.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, right, just like about 10 inches above the cork, too. And I was like, oh man, I felt so bad. And he's like, nah, it happens all the time. I'm like, what do you mean it happens all the time, man? Like, wouldn't you upgrade your stuff, man? But a piece of advice for anybody trying to get into the larger, big game fish down there is your spool. Gosh, like I got, just off the shelf, like rod and reel combo 9 weight. And I took that thing down to the Russian last summer. Well, let's give this a try. And I was just having these reds just spool me, just smoke me on the drag. There's no drag on them.
Right.
You could get just an off the wall, $100, $150 9 weight fly rod. It'll do you good. Until you snap it, like I did. But it'll do you good. But invest in a good reel with a good drag on it, or else you're going to be pissing a lot of people off dancing between everybody. I mean,
running down the banks.
Oh yeah, this thing took me for a ride. All of them did. You don't want to be that guy running through the hole of fish with the.
You don't get into backer. You don't get into backer on the Kenai.
No, you don't want to. You don't want to. But
that's not that kind of place. You don't play fish down there.
No. So yeah, and invest in a reel. And if I'm gonna try to navigate you toward a good reel, it'd be anywhere from like the $120 to $200 range for that kind of setup. Now, with that being said, if you're going to use that for some other big game species like pike or lake trout, you can use the same stuff. But I'd recommend getting just another spare reel, because those Kenai rigs, what we're using is, I like to run like a 30-pound mono, like just the whole spool, 30-pound mono. Because any type of fly line, except sinking, I've seen some guys use some sinking fly line that get into them pretty well. And that's kind of like their weight. If you're not familiar with flipping, flossing, snagging them in the mouth is what you call it. You're basically
flossing.
You're basically pitching a hook or fly or bead combo attached with some weight. Some weight would be usually about 3 feet above the fly. You're flipping it out into the water, waiting for your weight to kind of touch, kind of tittle, just a little tippy tappy the bottom, and you're dragging it across the bottom. And what you're basically trying to do is catch that fish, mainly sockeye, because they're always kind of opening and closing their mouth while going upriver. Trying to catch that fish in the side of the mouth, flossing the line through the side of their mouth, if you will, and catching them somewhere in the face. They call it flipping or flossing. But using a sinking line would kind of negate the purpose of using either split shots or sliders or inline sinkers or whatever you'd want it to use out there. I saw a guy who was just beating them up on some sinking line down there on the Russian last year, and same goes for the Kenai and Casile off.
Sure, yeah, sounds like a good way to go if that's going to be your game plan, no matter what. But maybe a little bit harder to change out from if you want to switch things up. Yeah,
just getting two spools. I mean, and just making sure they have a good drag system on them. You don't want to be that guy running through a family trying to have a good 4th of July weekend. Oh, the Kenai just ruining things for everybody. And yeah,
I love when you just hear people coming down. No, you're not. No, you're not. Walk backwards.
Right.
Yeah, and that was me, man. Like I went from one side of the river to the other and back.
Oh man.
Like, and then me, like, I'm just an idiot, just not bringing a net. And then some saint would come over with a freaking net and be like, "Do you need some help?" I'd be like, "Yes, please,
Yes.
for the love of God, net this thing."
Wear glasses down there too.
Yeah,
That's
glasses.
a big one.
Yeah.
Polarized. Yeah.
Well, you're fighting these things, and it's not like they're biting it. You're hooking them in the side of the mouth, and they fight like their lives depend on it. And
Which it does.
Yeah, which it does. And those hooks just come flying out, especially if you're the net man.
Yeah.
Especially if even on the back of charter boats in Lake Michigan and in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pulling these fish up the transom, and you got one guy there with the net or the gaff, and that line. If you're ever on the netting or gaffing end, that line is perfectly in line with the side of your face, and if that fish spits that hook, it's coming straight for you or straight behind you. And yeah, wear glasses, be safe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's a lot of hook accidents down there on the
A
Russian
lot of hook accidents
every year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Watch your back cast. People are trying to go down and get a spot, and you're just swinging this freaking murder machine out in 180 degrees. So,
Right.
just be mindful of what you're doing.
Big old treble hook right in between my index and middle finger. I was looking here, so I still had a scar when I was pike fishing one time. Tossed a lure over into a spinner or something over into the weeds,
Man.
and it caught something, and I yanked, and it came.
Yeah.
And it came.
Yeah.
As intended.
Right. Don't you hate it when it works?
Well, usually when you pull on it slow, like it'll release.
Right.
You can get it pull out into the water, and well, that time it released all right. It didn't.
Oh yeah.
Not slow though.
Came at about Mach 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I felt it embed itself in my hand, and well, I cut the hook off and folded it over in my finger and kept on.
Yep.
But
so I guess my last question as far as fly fishing goes would be, what would your recommendation be as far as resources for somebody who's new that's looking to learn how to operate one of those, how to cast, how to be more, I guess you could say fluid with it, more graceful.
Yeah. I had a really hard time learning how to cast fly fishing. James, you were in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
You might have had to pull a weapons guard duty.
Oh yeah.
Well, I learned how to cast on weapons guard. We were, in my little big warehouse basically, and I just brought my fly rod in at 2 a.m. for my hour-long shift, and I pulled out a chair and stood on a chair, and I sat there and I just whipped this thing back and forth till I got it. And I never did get it in like that closed area. It just took many, many years of, I wouldn't even say many years. It just took a lot of reps of just out on the water,
trial and error,
getting caught up in the trees behind me and getting just an absolute bird's nest out in front of me. Orvis, like YouTube, like, here's your Orvis guide to fly fishing. Like that dude, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's very knowledgeable. But there's plenty of resources on YouTube that somebody will teach you how to fly fish, and it's hard to just say it over, a podcast like this, or even watch it on YouTube on how to get it down. But I get so many people that come out on the boat with me, like clients, like, I have a fly rod. I pitched it around a couple times, hooked myself in the back of the head, never picked it up again.
Yep. That's enough for me.
And then that's enough. And then I, really be like, hey, like, if you want to catch them on the spinning rod, I'm not saying I'm going to judge you. Everybody else is. Okay.
Right.
But I really push the fly rod. I push the fly rod on them.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and hold their hand, and I get hooked. Dude, I get hooked so many times. I got hooked twice by the same girl on the same trip.
Oh man.
Same trip. Yeah. And but it's the name of the game.
The tip goes up every time.
Yeah, I got a good tip that one. I told her, like, listen, I got over the corner of their boat. I'm like, listen, if you want my phone number, I have a card.
Right.
I have a card. They're super cheap. I'll give you one. All right. But getting out and doing it. Just get out and do it. I mean, wade out in the water. try it out in the backyard. Don't if you're practicing out in the backyard, don't be on gravel. Try to get in the grass. Do not just whip it around with just your fly line. I made that mistake. I ended up ruining just my fly line. Tie some type of leader, and if it helps you, put on a split shot, a bobber.
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
Mimic that weight at the end.
Yeah, give it something. And I can't really cast bobbers and nymph rigs worth a dang, but I can lay out dry flies. I absolutely love dry fly fishing, and but some people kind of learn faster when there's a little bit more weight.
Sure.
On the end, it kind of mimics that whole spin fishing tactic.
That makes perfect sense.
But yeah, there's different, and it's not like when you fly fish, there's only like one cast. There's a plethora of types of casts. Like even like spin fishing, you have like over the head, off to the side, backhand. These dudes do like this underhand thing and get them to skip across the top of the water. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
I wish I could do that, man. I can't. But there's a lot of different casts out there. Either like just a straight back and forth overhead cast. There's side casting. There's a water load cast where you drag your line through the water, and that's what's creating
like a roll cast,
like a bend in your rod. You're dragging it, and when you hear guys talk about your types of load on a fly rod, you're trying to load up that rod so you get as much spring in there to when it flies forward, it really flicks that line out, because that's what you're casting is the line, not the lure, like conventionally. But just like and just sticking with it. And try to put yourself in like every situation you can, not just back and forth. I can't tell you how many places I've walked in and I have no room to cast up out behind me.
Yeah.
So I got to let all the line out in the water and try to, like Chris referred to as
That's
a roll
lot
cast.
of our casting here is roll cast.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what,
real estate
it's super easy. Roll casts are super easy. You let some line out in the water, you pick the rod tip up, you slam it down once. That kind of gets the line out in front of you. You pick it up one more time. Imagine like a clock. You pick it up to about 11, 12 o'clock, and you slam it down to like 9 o'clock or even like maybe 8, and it'll give that whole line that little whip and a roll. That's a great cast for using when you don't have a bunch of crap. When you have a bunch of crap,
right?
I feel like that's the most commonly used one here.
Yeah, and
I was gonna say because every shoreline around here,
I learned how to fly fish in Prudhoe. Yeah. And so I'm on the tundra. I learned on the Kaparic, right? So nothing to get caught on. And I'm like, oh, I'm good at this. And I mean, I was firing that thing like after a while. And I learned from really good guys. And I'm like, I'm so good at this. And then I get home, I'm like, I'm going to go fly fishing. I'm hung up and everything.
Yeah, I got no room.
No room. And then I'm like, oh, this is that roll cast everyone was pushing on me, right?
Yeah, And like a spay cast, guys like down in Washington, down in like the Anchorage area.
Oh, yeah, those guys like 100-yard cast.
It's insane because they got 12 freaking rods and they're drawing hearts in midair and then flinging this thing.
Yeah, you're like, oh, stop.
Like the one guy in that video, man. It was like the camera panned over like
it's
crazy far.
It's like fly casting tournament where the dude's casting 120 feet.
He got past the berm.
Rod. Yeah. They have a little pool and there's a berm, and then it's crazy because they know somebody's gonna cast past. Right. So they got the tape measure stretch out past the berm, and it goes all the way out past the berm.
Insane.
I've seen dudes in Prudhoe that cast like a 5-weight, like almost 100 yards. You're just, but you have all that real estate to load that line.
You're
just like, how the heck? But
yeah, I'm pretty good on my 4-weight. I definitely not know 100 feet cast, but you know, if we're on the Clearwater and I can get out, I can cast that rod across the Clearwater on some of the wider bends. I feel pretty confident. But getting back to like any resources, Orvis Fly Fishing Guides for Beginners, they have a lot of great videos, whether it's on casting, whether it's picking your fly for the day, or whether it's learning how to tie a tippet to a fly line, or you know, what have you, learning how to read water. But like, you can't just be one of those fishermen from the couch, you know, you gotta just get out and throw that thing around, and don't matter how many times you hit yourself in the back of the head. Lord knows I did.
What do you always say, Chris? Talking ain't doing?
Talking ain't doing.
I'll say the worst.
I used to hate that saying. But everything comes down to that in life, it seems like.
The worst cast I've ever had in my life, and I'll leave you with this. It made me want to put the rod down right there. I was fly fishing off my brother's 30 kingfisher in Florida, and we're on this, and it's probably blowing about, I don't know, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds off my back cast. So blowing 20 miles at my back. So it's really not a great place to get your fly out behind you and then launch it forward. Is really, really tough. But he had a 3-foot Ray Marine sonar pendulum on the top, the big thing that spins around. And I casted that thing back, and that wind took it and it sent it into that Ray Marine sonar dish that spun around. And it just spooled me right there until I just grabbed the line and broke my line off, and then then that thing just kept spinning. There's nothing that stops those things, but I was like, man, what a dumb day. And then we had to shut it down, and I had to go up there with a knife in 15, 20 mile hour wind. So we're in rollers. We're in like 4-foot rollers. So, as you climb up, it gets even worse.
Yep.
The left and right sway gets even worse the higher up you are. So I had to climb up there with a little dive knife and cut all that crap out of it. Well, holding on with my toes, to a fiberglass top. And what an experience that was. That was hands down the worst cast I've ever made in my life.
Sounds like a hoot and a half. We'll just say that.
Pick up that rod. I always say the best equipment is the stuff you have. If you have a fly rod, or go out and buy a budget fly rod, take it out, watch a YouTube video, get out there, grab a buddy, hire a guide who knows what he's doing. Somebody, anybody could kind of sit there and hold your hand and just do it. Just keep doing it.
Good place that I've found to practice is like baseball fields, or you get on the soccer fields where you're not going to tear your line apart on yard structure. And it's nice and open and mellow.
Exactly.
There's something soft for that to land on.
It'll just chew your fly line up, and then you'll be SOL.
Well, and I know that there used to be, I don't want to say that there is one right now, but something worthwhile to look into for anybody wanting to learn that's in like the Fairbanks or maybe even Anchorage area, is there used to be a class that you could take that would go out of, I think they had it out of UAF. I knew several people that took it back in the day, and they'll actually take you out and put you in real world situations and stuff.
I think I might have missed it this year, but they have here in Fairbanks, I think it's across Alaska. There's an organization called the Midnight Sun Fly Casters.
Okay.
They just had a little tune-up kind of day at Chena Lakes.
Okay.
I wanted to go to it, but I was out doing something. I don't even remember. This last week's a blur, but they and I met some of the dudes who run that. Very knowledgeable guys who live, breathe, eat, sleep, fly fishing. Very patient people, and you can really get access to that. I think they have a Facebook page, Midnight Sun Fly Casters. Also, I know Fairbanks has a Trout Unlimited chapter on Facebook.
Cool.
You can go on there and talk to people, and I will say fly fishermen can be pretty snobby. Fly fishermen can be pretty snobby. Whatever you've heard about fly fishermen, it's pert near true. And but there's going to be somebody who's going to want to help you out and teach you some stuff. So don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, and that's kind of like, dude, that's what I preach about. Like, everything is like, just ask somebody. Like, ask me. Like, if I can't help you, I'll try to find somebody to link you up with.
Right.
I love helping people too, especially as if it's outdoors. I don't try to gatekeep or gaslight anybody about anything. Like,
well, and that's one thing I love seeing is like when people go on these Facebook pages, whether it's about long range shooting or fishing or bow hunting or anything, and they just ask the question. And like, you're going to get some, yahoos that come out there and they want to, how could you not know that? Blah, blah, blah. But it's like,
I love seeing the trolls on there, honestly. That's the best part about Facebook comments.
You just got to ignore those guys, and somebody in that comment section is going to give you the right answer or point you in the right direction. Just be willing to ask the question and take the harassment, because it's just part of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, we all start somewhere, man.
it's cool to stick with somebody and see them through, and then and see their success. That's a cool thing.
Watch. I absolutely love seeing that, dude.
Me too.
Absolutely.
I had some kids like they were trying to like coyote hunt and stuff, and I'm like, they ain't gonna stick to it. And then they start sending me pictures. I'm like, yeah. My wife's like, what are you so excited about? Like, these guys killed coyotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so pumped.
I took a dude out ice fishing like 4 years ago as a client, and dude, he comes in and talks to me all the time. Like, yeah, you just got this tracks for my side by side. I'm taking the wife out in our freaking Otter Pro XL. Like check this out. Me and my wife caught a freaking 25-inch burbot this weekend. Check this out. My wife and I like ice, and I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But some people are like, well, he doesn't have to hire you anymore. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, now I could go fish by myself.
Right.
For fish that I like to fish for. Like,
yeah.
But yeah.
You mean I don't have to wake up early if I don't want to?
Exactly, man. Like, it doesn't matter what time I get out there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I love seeing those people succeed. I'm always rooting for the guys that know nothing to learn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive when you see people put the time in too.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of effort. All these things take a lot of effort.
Everything,
when you watch them where they're
fishing.
just like, you see them tired and they're like coming in, giving you like updates. You're like, dude, this guy's getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, dude. That was me, dude. I came up here with not knowing nothing.
That's how I was.
My first ice fishing equipment up here was a box of random crap I got from some dude on Wainwright who was PCSing for $100.
Yep.
That was my first, and I still got those rods to this day, and I still go out and hammer fish on them. But yeah, like slowly collecting gear and the knowledge, and then next thing you know, like I'll be out on the ice and I'll look over and be like, I've just been over like 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
That dude's out here again? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
Well, and one thing I'll say too is don't underestimate the power of buying things in increments.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I can't afford the whole kit this payday, but man, I could get the rod, you know,
Right.
or I can get the line or something like that, or I can get, you know, this or that to make your hunting or fishing kit better. Because the thing is, you can't afford it this payday because life sucks and we have a horrible economy right now. But you're not going to be able to afford it next payday either, or the payday after that. And so you spend the money to get the one piece to the kit this payday that you can't afford
everything,
and then you
Right.
get the next component the next payday, and then 3 paydays you've got the whole kit put
Or
together.
just start
and
setting
it's
cash aside on the dresser till you can just
$20 at a time.
And
Yeah,
it
that's up
gets-
quick.
That's
It
a big
gives you-
thing, like taking care of your stuff too, because it takes so long. Like that's one thing I'm not going to lie about, and it's don't let it be a deterrent if you're a new guy or gal to any of this. But Alaska requires a lot of gear. It's not cut and dry, and like taking care of your stuff and getting it piece by piece. Like even me hitting you guys up about these like Stealthy Hunter covers. It's you know, you take the rifles and the boat, all that stuff, like take care of your stuff and just get it little by little. And
it gives you something to get like giddy about, you know?
it does.
Yeah, it does.
Ooh,
Right.
dude, I
Turn into
can't-
a gear nerd.
I just got this Sitka top, dude. I'm gonna get the bottoms next paycheck, bro.
I'm gonna start sleeping in this stuff.
Ooh, dude, I just got this fishing pole, man. I can't wait to get that reel next paycheck. bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It motivates you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh, it's gonna
exactly.
I'm gonna look so good out there.
I feel like it motivates you to use this stuff too.
Yeah,
like
I
it
mean,
does.
because it's hard to buy, like invest in a bunch of stuff and then just stare at it. It pushes you to go put some miles on that stuff.
Especially when you've got an old lady. Because then it's
Watches
like, you bought that, you better use it.
I'm not gonna call mine an old lady here because
No. Ol. O-L apostrophe.
I ain't even going there. She'd be like, "What'd you say?"
Dude, I'll be out in the bushes trying to retrieve this fly, and a person's like, "Why are you looking for it?" I'm like, "Cause it's 89 cents. That's why I'm looking for it." Okay,
Right. Mind your own business.
Yeah.
This was my lunch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
James, you talked about how you looking into getting into fishing and getting more excited about it and stuff like that.
Mm.
I get that way every year right before 4th of July.
Do you?
And it lasts until after 4th of July camping trip. And then I'm like, all right, what's next?
Well, that was fun.
I'll go to the Sportsman's, buy a new rod, buy a bunch of tackle, and be like, man, that's a lot of money. I'm going to go use this, and I will while I'm out there camping. And then after it's over, I'm off doing something else.
Yeah, you just got to build over the years, and then eventually you'll have like this massive tackle box that everybody thinks you're like some like
except
amazing.
All the lures are new. Yeah.
Somebody will think you're like this amazing, well-known fisherman.
I'm starting to get the fishing bug again. Talking to you. I fished so much when I first moved here, and fishing's like my number one.
See, you
passion.
Guys, like I'm all for hunting. I like to hunt, dude, especially waterfowl, which I'd love to come back and talk to you guys about that closer to the season. But
absolutely.
But yeah, that's other than fishing and ducks, man, nothing really gets me off the couch more than that. And that's just kind of just like how I was raised. Like we get to fish all year round if you do it right.
Yep. Well, and to that point, I wanted to point this out when you were talking earlier, but we talked about burbot lines.
Yeah.
You had mentioned running those in the wintertime. That is not strictly a springtime activity.
No.
You can run burbot lines
in the winter. They do come up to spawn. They're a little more heavier presence in the springtime. But yeah, they are a resident fish, if you will, in a lot of our lakes and streams.
Yeah.
You can, I think almost every body of water besides, your typical gravel pit, holds burbot.
Yep. It's one thing I love about them too, is you like everything else you do in Alaska, you can almost incorporate burbot fishing into that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
you really can.
We're getting ready to run out on the boat, and that's just one of the best things is setting bear baits and eating burbot in camp and checking lines, and you could always throw that into whatever you're doing.
Well, and perfect point in case, you and I were kicking ourselves last year because we were all in a rush and putting things together and whatnot, going out to moose camp. And we get out there and we're like, oh man, we forgot the burbot lines.
Dude, we would have got burbot there too, right where we slept. We would have got burbot, dude.
So many.
And that would have broken up like the monotony of like the daytime sitting around.
And the cool thing is, you wake up in the morning, you're getting ready to go. You set your lines, get them out. You go do your hunting. You come back at the end of the day, even if you got your butt kicked the whole day. Okay, let me try to pull these lines in. Boom. Maybe you got a burbot or something like that.
Well, even
now you got fresh camp.
Nighttime, you get settled in, and you just night you check them, throw them back out.
Yeah.
Let them soak. 24 hours, and right. Just shy of 24 hours. You got to check them every 24 hours.
Yeah.
And you're just
or even pike. A lot of these areas are really great for pike. You bring out your pike fishing kit.
Yeah, something. Just like you said, break the monotony.
That's another thing too. Like even if you're a lot of places you're going to set bear baits, or you're doing short trips or moose hunting, there's opportunity. You're passing bodies of water, and you can just stack one more thing onto your trip. That's it's fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Can't do that a lot of places.
No.
Nope. Yeah, that is one thing that's really cool about up here. And the scenery. Every time I drive anywhere, I'm just like, man, thank goodness I live here.
Literally just working in my yard at night and like all the sounds we were talking about. It's just like, this is why I tolerate these winters.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and you got to be here right at the beginning to get that full effect. Like, you couldn't snowbird and enjoy this place.
So
I don't think
you got to experience the silence to appreciate the noise.
Yeah.
You're primarily fishing for burbot more in pond, river, both.
Rivers. Yeah. There are some ponds and lakes that hold some big burbot, but when I'm on those lakes, I'm targeting other species. The burbot's like a bonus.
Yeah.
But if I'm
target of opportunity,
target of opportunity. Yeah. I'll go hit. Literally, if you're up in the Fairbanks area, any body of water that's connected to the Tanana will hold burbot in dense populations, whether it be, the Chena, if you go all the way out to like the Nana, all the sloughs around town, great opportunities.
I want to say, from what I've heard people say and read and whatnot, I haven't done any burbot fishing down in southern Alaska, but I've heard if you're in the interior, fish the rivers, sloughs, creeks, and all that.
Yeah.
If you're in south central, that's where you go more into the lakes and ponds and stuff like that. So
that's what I hear too.
Yeah. So if you're in, Anchorage area listening to this, like, more ponds and stuff like that. So Well, cool. Well, I know we said we were going to keep this one short, but we're at about 2 hours, 40 minutes there. So we did a pretty good job with this one. So I think unless you have anything to add for springtime, things to look forward to, we'll probably wrap this one up.
No, man. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the sunlight. Enjoy the water. Enjoy the birds, fish. Enjoy getting out and seeing the great state coming back to life. It's truly spectacular time.
Yeah,
that we have up here. Not every state gets this kind of spring and summer. And if you're up here, either just getting here, you've been here forever, just take a minute, pause, get outside, listen to the sounds, and enjoy it.
Smell the bug dope.
Yep. Thank God you're out here.
Yeah.
Breathe
absolutely.
the thermocell.
Yeah, the thermocell.
Fight off the mosquitoes and just be thankful.
Yeah,
Be
honestly.
thankful.
That's perfectly said.
It's such a great place to be.
For any of you in the lower 48, do not move here.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Come in, pay a guy.
If you really want to see how mad people on Facebook can get on the Fairbanks, Alaska page and mention that you're going to move up here and ask for advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all the people that are sitting on Facebook doing nothing. Too.
I know, right? And
So
it's like everybody gets on there and thinks that everybody.
You guys are the problem.
My favorite. What igloo should I move into? What? Dude, we don't have igloo.
How far do you have to ride a
go down there.
snowmobile to check your mail?
Right.
Is there gas up there?
Where do they put all the snow in the summertime?
Did you see that lady that submitted a question to Yellowstone asking what time do you guys release the animals?
Oh my God.
That's so awesome.
So I wouldn't put it past anything.
People used to ask that kind of stuff, like what down south in a resort town where I came from. Where do you guys put all the snow in the summertime? Like, are you serious?
I think it's great.
You are serious, aren't you?
We're talking about all this stuff we can do, but you can literally be so busy, say hunting, that you don't really have time to fish.
Yeah.
A lot of guys and vice versa, right? Like you can be so busy fishing all year round, pretty much, that you just don't have time to hunt.
That's basically me.
Right. And I'm the other way around here. Exactly. I mean, I fish a little here and there, but
opposite ends of the table here, literally.
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember like ice fishing somewhere where you go often. When I first moved here and fishing with a buddy of mine, and we see a crossfox walking across the ice, and he's like, "Man, I wish I had my rifle." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, oh yeah." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Oh, that would just be a beautiful hide." He's like, "Man," and I'm like, "Wait, what? How do you do that? What? Wait?" And he's like, "Dude, you freaking lower 48er." Right. And then there goes predator hunting. And then that's what started happening too. Is like, I loved fishing, but then I'm like, any day that's good enough to fish is a day I want to be out calling.
Yeah. Back in Illinois, like I wouldn't have thought, if I would have saw a fox on the ice back in Illinois, I would have thought twice about it. I'd have been like, oh, look, there he is.
Right.
But here I'm like, oh man, like how fast can I get this rifle out and get a beat on this thing?
You ever carry anything with you?
Man, I should. I keep it in the truck, which is half a mile away. But if I could be a little quicker, if I could be a little smarter, I'd start packing it.
Yeah.
I keep it, I'll tell you where. I keep the old problem solver, man, when I go bird hunting, duck and goose hunting. Dude, those fields that I hunt.
Oh, those yotes.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
you got to wait till it gets a little more brisk out. You got to wait till that bird season's closing up. And
then no. No.
You don't care about fur.
No.
No.
It ain't about that.
No. I don't think so. No.
An opportunity.
I like that story you were
Yep.
telling me about last year.
Yeah. Oh gosh. That was it broke my heart. I lost a coyote to the tall grass. I was out scouting.
That's easy to do.
Yeah, I was out scouting this goosey field, and I had this dog with me, and parked the truck at the corner of the field. Walk out, look around. Yeah, this is a great spot. Look over across the field. There's a coyote. Awesome. Run back to the truck, grab the gat, jump a tree line, put the dog like at a position of heel, sit him there, and then walk through the tree line, post up on a branch, coyote walks basically straight towards me, 100 yards, 120 yards. Smoke him. Here I am, patting myself on the back because I think he's down. And I call this dog up, and he's like fixated on birds, right? He's a bird dog. And thinking, if I got him something that looked a little wounded in front of him, I'd probably do something. He'd probably see a show. So by the time I get the dog next to me and I turn around, this coyote's got his legs back underneath of him, and I crack off 2 more before he hits the tall stuff, and he completely disappears. And I get this dog out there, and he's looking for birds. He's digging up rodents in the tall grass. I'm like, man, I'm about to, oh man, but couldn't find a drop of blood. And then next thing you know, I spend better part of 2 hours looking for this thing. It's getting dark. I still haven't set up 5 layout blinds, a freaking 5-6 dozen goose decoys and crane decoys I needed to put out that night. I spent 3 hours trying to get this dang coyote, and I set up in the middle of the night.
That's why we didn't bring fishing gear when we went moose hunting. Right there.
Yep.
But things happen fast, and like what we were talking about earlier, there's so much stuff up here to enjoy. And whether it's fishing, whether it's hunting, I mean, heck, I don't really hear you guys ever talking about just hiking. But I mean, who wants to do that? I mean,
I go on. You get that in doing the rest of the
I would say
stuff.
I go on armed hikes.
Armed hikes? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
I've gone
I go on hikes with dead.
I've talked about doing hikes, just like, there's some really, I mean, if that's,
beautiful places.
if you like the outdoors, you're not into any kind of hunting or fishing, there is so many hiking trails around Fairbanks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And access, you drive a little ways out of town, any direction. You get on the internet, start looking up hiking trails, maintained hiking, hiking trails.
Download the All Trails app.
And there's you can do
there's hundreds.
I mean, there's an
around
OnX
here.
Trails app too.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I use just because I have OnX.
And I joke about the whole, I only go on armed hunts or armed hikes, but that's because you get these tough guys that are like, if you're not hunting, you shouldn't be in the woods because and it's like, but me and my wife do quite a bit of hiking. I mean, we did, and the cool thing with hiking in Alaska is a lot of these trails are just fun. It's not super hard. I mean, we did Flat Top last summer. We did, a couple of different places.
Set up a pack, grab a rifle.
Butte down there by
Black Bear's open.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and a lot of these, they get you out into the wilderness just like anything else.
You know what I want to start doing is looking for morels.
Yeah,
that's see, that's the thing. You do one thing for a little bit, and you get some intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I have talked about that a lot.
Oh, and morels are delicious.
They are.
Yeah, they're crazy.
I stopped for a little tinkle last year on the way back from the bait, and I'm like, well, are these morels? I was like, oh my gosh! And I'm like, dude, these things are
just tinkled all over them.
I was like,
there's an opportunity missed.
Those aren't any good anymore. No,
these mushrooms taste like asparagus.
But I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I mean, and they're so good.
Yeah.
You bite into one of those things like a steak.
Yeah.
They're
so totally different than other mushrooms.
And that's I want to go. And it's funny too, because I got a buddy that he's pretty big on it. And he shot bears mushroom picking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what?
Dude, whether it's morels, shaggy manes, we got lots of shaggy mane up
You ever go out?
Dude, I used to pick shaggy mane in my backyard.
Really?
Yeah. Before they turn black and disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Shaggy mane. And we even have, not a lot of people know this, but we also have, I think they're called white puff balls.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen them.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are really good too. I've seen some dudes pick some giant white puff balls.
Really?
And make freaking pizzas out of them. It's
what?
Yeah. They're
nice.
like 8 inches
Yeah.
across, and they cut them into sections and make a little pizza out of them. But
those little ones we have that you step on and they make powder go everywhere.
Yeah.
As a kid, I would see a mushroom that was round like that and stomp on it and get all excited because, right? And then I'd find those white puff balls you're talking about and stomp on them and nothing would happen. I'd be severely disappointed.
Just making more mushrooms, kicking spores all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, and one little hack talking about mushrooms, those ones that grow on the birch trees, you throw those on a fire. That's mosquito repellent.
Are you talking about
the
chaga?
Not the chaga. No, the other one that grows lower. Punk. Yeah. That's
punk. Oh.
You throw punk on a fire and it's like bug dope.
No kidding.
Yeah,
we've used that. We used to use that out on the porch at our old place.
Yeah,
because we had a bunch of that on the birch trees.
Yeah,
and it works good.
But
it
along those lines too, like you'd mentioned chaga. I totally forgot about that one. But yeah, we go harvest chaga all the time.
Natural coffee. I mean, to me, it tastes like dirt, but
it does. It does. That's fair. But it's really good for you.
I'll throw a little French vanilla creamer in mine.
There you go.
Like chewing on your vitamins.
Well, and that's cool too, because that's like with bringing you onto the show, Chris, you know, and everything. The whole direction we're kind of moving is covering all of these different things that we can do here, because you know hunting's great and everybody loves hunting, and that's definitely don't think we're going to lose our bread and butter here.
Yeah.
But you know, for me, what a hunter means is somebody that goes out and brings things home.
Or the hunter gatherer.
You know, it's not just I'd bring a rifle or a bow and I'm a hunter. Like that's like the modern.
It's cool too, because
but for us, it's there's fishing, there's you know, like we just named off 6 different mushrooms that we have here. There's you know, then all the hunting opportunities we have here, big game, small game, trapping, all of these different opportunities. It's like.
When I was a single man, it was all about like the macho stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like my wife, you know, and my son. It's funny, my son knows more about. We had Dad here last August, and my son's he's here, Grandpa. He's handing him all these berries, and my dad's looking at me. I'm like, I don't know. Like he's like, it's okay to eat, and I'm like, hey, he's chomping on him, and and he knows all about him because of Mom, right?
Yep.
And so you kind of start leaning towards that kind of stuff. My wife's all into the foraging thing, and which I never really cared about, but then she's into it, so I have interest, and then I'm like, well, this is pretty cool.
Yeah,
and she'd last longer in the wilderness than me, knowing what she's looking at.
It's right.
It's crazy when you think about it, right?
Yeah, that's foraging and small game is how you survive.
I'd probably eat something bad and. You know,
yeah, exactly. Well, and the cool thing it all ties into, we have a lot of listeners in lower 48. And a lot of these people, when they come up for either guided hunts or DIY moose hunts or anything like that, they're like, man, like, what can I eat while I'm out there, you know, glassing? Like, what kind of, you know, which ones are edibles, which ones aren't? Like, can I fish while I'm floating down the river looking for moose? Like, you know, and all this different stuff. I mean, it's all applicable to your experience.
It's a good way to like get yourself out of that one-dimensional way of thinking.
Yeah,
there's so many things you can do.
What I gotta do.
Get more for your money. I mean, if you're coming up here spending all that money to come up here and hunt, I mean, get more out of the experience. Like, you know, so.
I mean, you can go sheep hunt and find fossils on top of a mountain.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. There's all kinds of crazy stuff.
You should be looking out there and not down at your feet the whole time. But
yeah, every once in a while.
I mean, that's what the guide is for, right? Guide.
Exactly.
Finding like artifacts, like and like beachcombing Kotzebue, like finding artifacts. Like things like that, arrowheads, parts of pottery, bowls.
Mammoth tusks, all kinds of stuff
coming out of the wash.
Gold,
literally gold. Gold. Oh my gosh, gold. There's literally too much stuff to do up here.
Yeah,
you could live here your entire life and not get a chance to do it all.
I actually got sad one time. I was talking to my wife about it, and that was like what I was sad about. I was like, I had that realization. It was like, it doesn't matter if I live to 80. I will never see this whole state. I will never do everything there is to do here.
Yeah,
and you walk places and explore places, and you're like, I bet no one's ever stood right here
until you walk around the tree and there's a beer can,
toilet paper, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on,
piece
guys.
of like orange flagging tape,
right.
Old tree stand.
Like, come on, bro, come on.
I found a trail. I was out looking at trails and stuff where I was hunting the other day, and there's an old burn in the area, and I'm just looking for trails and stuff, and just riding, looking for any old trail. I find this. I see, you just see that it looks like maybe tire tracks went there one time, and you start following. Does this go anywhere? And it was it's this old blue paracord, and it went like into the burn, like it was there.
No kidding.
Before the burn was there. This trail was. I was like, man, I bet you this was like going back to where I wish I could get to now, but now there's trees everywhere, right? That's the kind of trail I'm looking for, trying to get through areas. And it was just really cool. Like this trail is 30 years old.
Yeah.
Right? They're using blue paracord for flagging tape.
Right. Exactly.
Right? Like, and you can tell it was not a new wheeler because it went around all these tight trees and everything. And like, the old wheelers, you could just like squirrel them in between trees.
Or the trees weren't that big back then.
That too, yeah. Or and then you have like these like 3-inch willows in the middle of like what was obviously a trail at one point. And So obviously with a wheeler like 850-pound wheeler, you just run them over. But yeah.
Once they've been growing for 20, 30 years,
yeah, exactly.
That's a little bit of a different story. So, but yeah, no, it's a lot that we're going to be covering going forward, and I'm excited for everything, and it's all going to add to the experience of living in Alaska. So that's the coolest part, is it's just a true representation of what it's like to live here. So, or even just visit. If you're in the lower 48 and you want to come visit,
or just
squeeze every drop out of that trip. Like, might as well. So. With that, we'll wrap up. Maxwell, thank you so much for joining us again. You are a wealth of knowledge, and we will definitely look forward to bringing you back.
Thank you so much for having me. Can't wait to be back.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you enjoyed the show, go ahead and give us a rating on whatever platform you're listening to us on. 5 stars is always best, and written reviews go a long way in helping us spread this show. We don't do any kind of paid marketing or advertising of any sort, so that's really the best way to get things or get the word out. If you follow our social media, if you search @The Northern Hunter on either Facebook or Instagram, and then if you could be so kind, sharing our stuff also helps us out a lot, because we are constantly shadow banned on there. So anytime you can help us, spread the word about this show, it really helps us grow and do more things and put more stuff together. And then if you'd like to help us grow in a more financial way, we've got a bunch of partners. If you go to thenorthernhunter.com, we've got a partners page there with companies that have decided to support what we're doing here at the Northern Hunter, and they've got a lot of them have discount codes with us, and we're able to give you guys cheaper access to really top quality outdoors gear. That'll help you along your way. Chris mentioned the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover for his rifle that he's looking at for getting beat up on the boat or in the back of the truck or wherever. So all kinds of good gear. He's got glassing pads, medical kits, all from the same place. All those links and discount codes are there on the website. We've got a store there with merch items. We've got some fresh designs on there for the summer season. We've got a few more that are going to drop here soon, so keep an eye out for that. And if you have any questions whatsoever, we've got the contact button there. You can reach us anytime. That'll get an email directly to the inbox. And so with that, thank you once again, Maxwell. Thank you all, gentlemen. And until next week, get out there, get after it, and good luck. We'll see you there.